entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
There's a lot of money to be made in entertainment. Today we're going to be talking about the economy of simping. Don't let the title fool you. I used to call this something else, but this is what all the cool kids are calling it now, so I guess we're going to call it simping from here on out. Coming up on the Rational Mail. Hey. All right. To butter me up with all that great applause. Hey, man, it's, what is it? It's International Hotep Day, so I thought I'd wear this hat again. Hotep Jesus will be appreciative of it today, I'm sure. I got a lot of, you know, what's funny is I did a show with him. Gosh, when did we do that, Brian? We did that like back in, it was at least 6 months ago. Oh, there's an email. Whenever you hear that, that's an email coming in, letting me know that I'm live right now. So, yeah, we did a show a while back. It was really enjoyable. I've known Brian for, oh gosh, almost 10 years. Has it been 10 years? Maybe it's less than that. Maybe it's like 8 years. So, Sam Bada has arrived. Thank you. Good. Okay. Sam Bada will be moderating the chat today. Thank you very much. So you guys can behave yourself. Give a shout out to Sam Bada. He is the voice of the Rational Mail on Audible. So, yeah, so today's Hotep Day. I don't know how that happened. I think maybe it's Brian's birthday. I'm not sure. Hotep Jesus, Brian. But I got a lot of stuff in my emails with links saying, oh, the best show you ever did was with Rollo, and I'm like, thank you, because it was really just kind of like a discussion among a couple of friends. So those are always the best ones, I think. So, oh man, here we go. We're already on it. Okay, $1 million question: simping, nature versus nurture. I would say primarily nature, but it's been nurtured along quite a bit recently. So I think it starts as nature and then it becomes something else. Today we're going to be talking about the nature of simping and the economy and the economics of simping and how those both work together. So that's actually, Thomas, that's a very good question. Let me put that back up there for you. Simping, nature versus nurture. I would say that the basis of men simping, for what we would like to call simping anyways, is certainly biological, and it is also a learned thing as well. So, and it's also something that is easily exploitable today. Well, we'll talk a little bit about men's sex drive and men's existential fear, as well as women's existential fear today. I've talked about those in the past. Excuse me. I'm getting into this today for a couple of reasons. I keep coming back to this one post. I believe it was a Reddit post about this poor simp that was explaining how he would go through this cycle of sort of depression and elation, I guess, sort of like breakup, makeup kind of thing. The highs and the lows of roller coaster, the emotional indignation roller coaster of supporting a girl on OnlyFans and coming up with like something like $4,000 for her just to make her feel like he would do anything for her. And I keep coming back to that. I am sort of interested in the reasons why guys would see that, like men today, like the young men of this generation in particular, would see that as a viable way of sort of satisfying some, I don't want to say emotional need, but certainly, well, I guess emotional need, but also something that's a little bit more deep-seated, I think. What'd you say? MGTOW say they're guys who control their biology and avoid women altogether are the new alphas. Yeah, well, no, you're not. Sorry. I think from an evolutionary perspective, you are not. And I will say that's an interesting question though. Observation, I guess. There was a post that Royce did way back in the day. I think it was like 2009, 2008. You'd have to go look at his archives because, of course, the blog is now defunct. But he had a post on there that I think I riffed on at one point on the Rational Mail about how cads were out banging dads, whereas dads were out breeding cads. And from an evolutionary perspective, we've never had anything sort of like that competition before, because now we have two things. We have DNA evidence. And if my voice is a little scratchy today, it's because the air quality here has finally hit a stage 2 alert in the Washoe Valley, thanks to all the smoke that's been blowing in from all these hundreds and hundreds of mysteriously, spontaneous combusted fires in California, and all of that smoke just blows into the Washoe Valley, which is right around where I live and in an undisclosed location in the Nevada desert out by Area 51, right? So if I'm a little scratchy, that's why today. You're gonna have to deal with it. I'm gonna sound like what someone, I don't know, 80s pop singer. I'm gonna sound like Rod Stewart today. Sorry. So that essay that he wrote, I don't say essay, but it's just a blog post that he wrote, and we got into a very long discussion. This is back when I was actually talking to Royce on a daily basis, the original Royce on a daily basis. And we sort of were talking about, like, is it an evolutionary success for an alpha male to have like a notch count of, triple digits, let's just say above 100? Is that an evolutionary success in an age where most of those guys aren't actually breeding, or if they are breeding, if they are reproducing, they're reproducing with women who can't lock them down, and other men are raising their kids? So we got into sort of this real, I don't say heated, but it was sort of an extended discussion at one point. And we were talking about our dads outbreeding cads. And if that's true, then cads are the ones that are out banging dads, meaning that if you're sort of the beta male provider archetype, you might be reproducing. Because we used to get that a lot. Like, guys would say, well, women really want to have, like, as if this is like some kind of consolation. They're like, well, those alphas, they might be having sex with women during their party years, but it's the guys at the end of the tunnel, like the guys when they get to their epiphany phase, they're the ones that are reproducing, and they're actually the success because their genes are going on into perpetuity. Well, your body doesn't know anything about birth control. Your evolved nature doesn't know any, and goes back to the nature versus nurture. Your body doesn't know any different whether you are reproducing with every squirt of adrenaline, every squirt of anything else for that matter. Your body doesn't know any different than that. So from an evolutionary success point, alphas are still alphas and betas are still betas. But from a sort of, I want to say, stage managed or a socially managed degree, it's largely going to be more the guys who are going to be sort of the last resort, or it used to be. Now, remember, this was like over 10 years ago. So now a lot has happened and a lot has changed in 10 years, as you can tell. I mean, social media has only gotten more exponentially wider. The global sexual marketplace has expanded exponentially. As the internet has sort of come into its own, I don't think we really realized what was going to happen, like back in the early 2000s or like even in the late 2000s. We had some inkling as to what was in store for us, but I don't think anybody ever really saw, OnlyFans as being, or, cam girls, or, I have this picture of the girl who's the dog, right? The girl who people keep sending me this on Twitter. I've seen it already. Actually, I saw it before you guys started sending it to me, by the way. It's the girl who makes, originally back in July, they sent me this story where they said she makes over $100,000 a month acting like a dog. Then in September, now it's down to $10,000 a month acting like a dog. And of course, they've got this picture now of her just sort of like, chowing down on dog food, and it's just the most disgusting thing in the world. And it's like, of course I retweeted it and I said, the future's female, right? This is here you go, ladies. This is where you are headed right now. This is something to be proud of, right? So when I see stuff like that, we could hardly predict, that kind of, that degree of it anyways, or at least to that intensity. And I think a lot of people would say, well, I did because I know the nature of women and I know how you didn't see it. Trust me. I didn't see it. You didn't see it. We know we know what the possibilities were. We know how extreme and binary it could get, but we did not see dog girl. We did not go, hold on, let me look. Wait. Let's look in the, is there going to be such a thing as dog girl? The Magic 8 Ball did not know about dog girl. So there you go. Oh, you're welcome. Neo. What? I'm probably saying that's wrong. So I wanted to talk about simping today because simping is really kind of an outcropping, or I think it's really kind of like the logical extension of the nature side of it. Now, I will talk about the economic side of it today. That is actually today's topic, or the title of today's show anyways. I will get into the economic side of it, even though I know that people in the chat are saying that I wasn't going to get to it. I absolutely am going to get to it. But first, we need to look at the nature side of it. We'll get to the nurture side later. So let's look at the nature side first. Back in, really, I think probably when's the earliest time I started seeing the term white knight thrown around. I think I was probably on SoSwap, so it would have had to have been like 2002, 2003, somewhere around there. And white knighting was the thing. You can still find white knight memes right now. It's like, women whose honor I have defended, little notch on the wall, and like women who've actually rewarded me with sex for doing so, zero, nothing. And this is, simping is really sort of the natural extension of blue pill, nice guy ideology, but conditioning, let's say. Now, I have next to hypergamy, next to alpha. Those are some controversial topics. What constitutes an alpha is always going to be a hot show. Just like you were saying just a minute ago, MGTOWs are the new alphas. No, from an evolutionary perspective, you are still very much the losers in the sexual marketplace because you are non-competitive. If you take yourself out of that system, or you believe you are taking yourself out of it, if you've become non-competitive, you are by definition not an alpha. So let's just leave it there. You're not an alpha in terms of reproduction. You're not an alpha in terms of being the cad of just having sex, like banging, right? So on both counts, you are non-competitive. You can dress that up however you choose, but that is, at least by definition, you are not alpha in that case. Does that make you beta? Does that make you like the guy? I'm going to just wait around for girls to come to me? Well, you're going to be waiting a long time, and I'll tell you why here in a minute. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Patrick? Do you mean the pill has propelled beta breeding? No. I would say that the pill has opened up women's sexual strategy, which is, of course, hypergamy, more. It has unfettered it, let's just say. There are no more rules attached to, there's no more buffers. And in fact, because men are by and large, I would say, we always talk about the Pareto principle. I've said this in one prior episode, and I've got several essays on this on the Rational Male, that 85% of men are rated as unattractive by women. It's a simple fact. I mean, you go Google it right now. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. There's several studies on this. I think the most prominent one was the OkCupid one. There might be Match.com ones by now. Gendernomics, which is Black Label Logic's book, has a lot of information on that. And also Dataclysm. Go look at those books. You will see that the Pareto principle that the red pill has been talking about really since about 2001, 2002, it's backed up. The numbers are there. So when I talk about the 80%ers, when I talk about the 80, 85, like some guys will say, well, it's 85. No, it's 90. Okay, maybe it is, but let's just keep it at the round numbers of 80-20 right now, because that's the Pareto principle. 80% of guys tend to be beta males. They tend to be the unattractive guys. Amongst the 80 percentile, I guess, there's the lower end of that spectrum, and then there's the higher end of that spectrum. But the most common misperception of women, and I have to kind of reiterate this because it's going to be a key element when we talk about simping here, is for women who are like, guys misinterpret this. They misinterpret the 80-20 rule. It's not that 80% of women want to bang 20% of guys. It's also not that 20% of guys are getting after it with 80% of women. No, these are the numbers. The number is 100% of women are looking for or want to have sex with or would like to in some way have romantic relations with the top 20% of guys. So that's 100% of that list are looking at the top 20% of the guys on the top of the ladder. That's what ideally, that's what women would like. They don't want, hypergamy never seeks its own level. It's always looking for something that's a little bit better. And if it's at its own level, it's there until it can find something that is above it, or until such time as that woman drops below it. That's another key element I should have added into that, is that a lot of guys think that hypergamy is a straitjacket and therefore they have to, they're always got to be on call, right? They always got to be on alert for the guy that's going to come in and swoop their girlfriend. Well, women's sexual market value, women's sexual agency, women's only real power in this world is perishable and it decays. So while she might be an 8 and you're an 8 at one point, or maybe you're both like 6s. Let's just, 8's is a little too high. Let's say you're both 6s, and when she drops to a 5 and you hopefully, if you're making the best of it, you're maximizing your potential, you go up to say like a 7, because men mature slower than women do in all kinds of different areas. When you become more valuable later in life, like I said, men peak at right around their sexual market value peak is, if you make your potential, is right around 36, 37 years old, whereas a woman's is on its decline. So yeah, can women just spread their legs and get any guy they want? Yeah, but remember, hypergamy never seeks its own level, and only women are hypergamous. Keep that in mind. That's your remedial red pill 101 for today. I will stop right there. What on earth? Alpha Male says Peter Parker was a simp in Spider-Man 2, knowing MJ banged some dude and was angry at him because he missed her theater play while in the friend zone. Friend zone's an interesting one. I'm going to talk about intersexual friendships today as well. That's funny, Alpha Male. I often use Spider-Man, and I mean like the classic Spider-Man character, not the one that's in the movies and such right now. But the classic Spider-Man character is a beta male. Even Steve Rogers, who ends up becoming Captain America in the beginning, is very much a beta male as well. Steve Rogers, the kid Steve Rogers, who wanted to, and this is like this is according to the movies and according to the comic books, was this kind of wimpy kid who would get his butt kicked and had to have his best friend Bucky, cover for him because he was actually naturally more alpha than he was. He gets the super serum, and he becomes super, right? And he steps out of the super's chamber and girls want to touch his chest, right? Oh my God. But he still is, so he's an alpha physically, but inside he's still the good guy, right? He's still the guy. Well, it's the classic story of like sort of overcoming your obstacles. And what would I do if I had that kind of power, right? Even in Spider-Man, it's the same thing. It's this wimpy kid it's high school kid who gets bitten by a radioactive spider and suddenly has superpowers. And with superpowers comes great responsibility. I forget the quote, whatever. It comes great responsibility, right? And so that's the sort of the moral of the story, right? You're supposed to learn, those are the lessons for that. Well, what we and it's heartwarming, right? Oh, the good guy finally gets the girl, yeah, because he got the super serum, and now he looks like a bodybuilder, or now he has something. Now he's has something that other guys don't have, and now all the guys that used to abuse him, they don't touch him anymore because now he's learned Taekwondo, right? He's learned something, right? He has some sort of contingency or some sort of superpower, but he's still the good guy. And I've used that. I think I used this last time I was talking about alpha. Steve Rogers, Captain America, is one kind of alpha. Superman is the good guy kind of alpha, like does everything by the book, is the old school, old order kind of good guy. Whereas then you got the bad guy alpha. I don't say bad guy, but the maverick, right? The individualist. And no, not the Sigma. That's something different. But like sort of the bad boy alpha, which is like the Tony Starks, like the Batman, right? Iron Man, Batman. Those are really, from a masculine archetype perspective, those two characters are pretty much the same. They're both millionaires, right? They're both take life on their own terms. They're both inventors. They're all both tinkerers to some degree. And so really those characters are an alpha archetype. And so is Steve Rogers. And really later, I wouldn't say Spider-Man ever really becomes an alpha archetype, but you'll notice that the guys who are sort of the good guys, their greatest weakness is, I won't say naivety, but it's this beta male kind of thinking. It's this nice guy thinking in an alpha body. And again, the reason why that's a fantasy is because the guys writing those stories, that was their fantasy. There was to, oh gosh, I'm just this poor little kind of washout in high school. Boy, wouldn't it be great if I could, get bit by a radioactive spider and be something else. But good call there. Alpha male. Yeah. Good call, because really what you're observing there is this idea that, if you're a good looking dude, if you're this stereotypical alpha kind of guy, you could still be a simp, right? You can still be a white knight. You could still be a chump. You could still be vulnerable to manipulations, not just by women, but by other men, and also by other forces outside of yourself, like government, like economic forces, things like that. So if that is your sort of innate way of thinking, viewing life is sort of this, natural good guy kind of thing, there's certainly a learning process that goes along with that. I think what's interesting is like and I hate to keep using I hate to keep using comic book characters for this, but if you look at like the rise of sort of the anti-hero, the guys who are just sort of take the world on their own terms. I mean, people were saying, like, remember in Batman when Heath Ledger was playing the Joker? I forget the name of it. It was Batman Begins. No, it was the other one was right after that. Anyway, the one with Heath Ledger in it. People kept saying the Joker was the hero, even in the most recent Joker movie. He's the hero. He's the hero because he's doing what most guys of this generation, the young guys of this generation, it resonates with them, right? Because that's their story. So when you're looking at, like, say, like Captain America or Spider-Man in the 60s, and you're kind of this kind of wimpy kid who just gets wedgies from the jocks like every other guy has ever had since day one, right? You always get the stronger kids always bully the weaker kids, right? And so, boy, wouldn't it be great if I could just, I can't actually do this, but I'm just going to write this really wonderful story where I'm actually the hero because I have these superpowers and nobody will mess with me anymore. That's exactly the same thing when we're looking at Joker or when we're looking at the anti-heroes. So, like, even Wolverine's an anti-hero. He's not a good guy. He'll kill people. Like in the old books, man, he would kill people. And that, or the Punisher. Remember? Punisher was great. God, I love the Punisher. Even the Punisher movie or the one that was on Netflix was pretty good. And I know I'm not endorsing Netflix now. But it was really good movie. Also a good character and wildly popular. What's funny is the Punisher was a villain. I think he was a villain in either Daredevil or he was a villain in one, but I don't remember where he started. And somebody, some autistic geek will know exactly where he came from, but he was a villain at first and then became sort of this anti-hero vigilante kind of guy because he became so popular. And I think there was a point, maybe it was in the 80s, where the anti-hero, like the more complex villain who became the hero was really, I think, more interesting than just sort of this, nice guy cut from the same cloth, like Superman, nice guy, superhero who was an alpha. Like you knew who was good and you knew who was a bad guy. Now it's different, and now we have to have complex reasons, and now it's, he had a bad childhood, or terrorists killed his children. There's always something that made him the bad guy, and we progressively can sort of identify with those things. So, but what I'm getting at here is, like, a simp is a simp is a simp. So when I talk about, like, white knights, when I talk about simps, I've always said that I wondered where the word simp came from. I think in this generation anyways, because we actually did use the term simp on So Suave and probably on Alt Fast Seduction back in 2000, 2003, 2004, somewhere around there. But we spelled it SYMP, and it stood for sympathetic, meaning that guy was sympathetic to, like, women's, motives, women's, like a female imperative, like a feminine imperative. Like, they were sympathetic. They were allies. They were male feminists. So, I mean, I can run down the list of what we would now call simps, SIMP. and they would still, you would probably get the same definition for like a white knight, for a blue pill chump, an AFC. We used to call them AFCs, average frustrated chump. And the average frustrated chump was the guy who didn't understand, he was stuck in the matrix, right? He didn't understand why women would do the things that they do. And that's what sort of spawned this curiosity with the red pill and unplugging themselves from their old life and their old way of understanding women to a new way of understanding women. So I think on this show, I might, if I can keep up with supers, I will do my best. I know that I have missed a few of them. I probably missed a few already. I think I'll throw a few of these out here. If I don't get to them, Sam is keeping track for me, so I will backtrack a little bit. Thomas says, what is the origin of the blue pill in media? In media. Okay, we'll get to that. I got a new, what's this, Phil? Phil says, I got a new term for you, bona fide suitor. A bona fide suitor. Oh, as in the terms, as in the, within the framework of like, I'm going to be the guy that's for you, baby. Yeah, that's, you have to understand that simping is really a form of beta game. And I wrote I think I might have put this in the first book. There's a chapter in the first book, or else there is a very early essay of mine called Beta Game. There's also, I know this is in the first book, which is called Identity Crisis. And I wanted to start with that actually, because what guys have done kind of historically is when a guy cannot compete with alphas, when a guy doesn't really understand the nature of the game that he's playing. Now, this is prior to the internet. So like, remember, simps, betas, chomps, white knights, AFCs, Peter Parker instead of Spider-Man, right? Those guys have existed like forever. And it's not you. I think what's funny is like every generation of, and mine included. Okay, so I'm guilty of this as well. Every generation of guys who sort of comes around. I'm Gen X, so I'm like 80s kid. Wow, we were watching like 16 Candles with what the heck's that guy? Anthony Michael Hall, right? We're looking at that guy, or the Breakfast Club, right? You can see the different categories of alphas and betas in the Breakfast Club. If you go and you look at like what is it, Bender is like the bad boy alpha. He still has the heart of gold, right? But he's the guy, and he's like the anti-hero, right? He gets slapped around by his dad, who burns cigarettes in his forearm, and then you've got Emilio Estevez, who's the stereotypical jock, also alpha, also ready to defend Milady's honor. Whereas Bender seems like he's a little bit more down to earth. And then you've got Anthony Michael Hall's character, whose character name I don't really remember off the top of my head, but he's sort of the stereotypical beta who doesn't get anything, and everybody sort of uses him for his big brain, right? And then you got the girl archetypes that are there. I think that was one of the beauties of that movie and technically movies at that time. If you go back and you look at kind of like those teenage comedy movies like 16 Candles, even Weird Science, like stupid, teenage comedies of that era. And I can't remember the name of the guy who was the director. He directed a bunch of those. If you look at those, you will see, like, especially with a red pill lens right now. I keep telling you guys, go back and watch old movies or listen to like old songs that you really enjoy, and with red pill lens on, and you will either never be able to enjoy them, or you will use them as very educational kind of material, I guess. So for me to go back and watch, say, Breakfast Club or 16 Candles or Pretty in Pink, that was another one, to go back and look at those movies, you can see those archetypes at play. And we didn't think anything of them. We didn't think anything of like the simp or the chump that was Peter Parker. We didn't think about, those kinds of, it was just kind of like it was almost like when we talk about like story-wise, when you talk about the story arc of the hero, like the hero archetype, where the boy becomes the man kind of thing. Men must become, women just are, right? So it's the hero's journey. That's what it's called. It's the stereotypical, the hero is a kid, and he's got to find some way to defeat evil. And so what does he have to do? He's got to train for it. He's got to find the old man with some wisdom to it. He's got to have a setback or two. Then he overcomes that setback. He gets up to, or maybe finds the magic sword or whatever. And then finally at the end of it, he defeats the villain kind of thing. So it's really sort of this, it's the hero's journey thing. And that's really reflective of men's burden of performance. So when you've got a guy who isn't necessarily a stereotypical alpha, the guy who it's like easy for, it's easy to get girls, like if you're an alpha, right? Well, that guy, the 85% of guys who are not alpha, they can relate with the hero's journey because they have to become something else. They've got to become better. Otherwise, they don't solve their reproductive problem. They don't get after it. They don't get the girl. They don't win the princess at the end. They don't get the medal around their neck, right? They don't get the prize, which is usually saving Milady. And so what simps do is they bypass all of that. They just want to go straight to, defending Milady's honor or trying to find some way to, in some way, identify with the feminine. Now, this is something I want to say it's older than the sexual revolution, but it's certainly come into its own since the sexual revolution. So once we got past like hormonal birth control and we pretty much put the onus of human reproduction on women, and progressively so until 2020, the bargain for that was, okay, ladies, you guys get to make complete choices. You get to be empowered. You guys, we're going to remove all restrictions on sexuality because now we don't have to worry about performance, right? Like we gave you this wonderful invention called birth control. So now you're going to use that. Okay. Like this was like sort of the tacit agreement, the new social contract. And then, you're going to just find out what's good inside of us. And it's not going to matter what our performance is. And it's not unconditional love, but it's sort of love or intimacy or reproduction or sex or whatever it is based on what's on the inside that matters, right? Because that's what women would always say, because women would want men, because women's sexual appeal is based on physicality. So we were expecting women to apply their expectations of men on them. Like, if I'm fat, you should still love me anyways because I have a beautiful inside. I have a wonderful soul, right? It shouldn't matter what's on the outside. Well, guys took that. Well, okay, well, we have birth control now, so it should matter. You just love me. It doesn't matter if I'm 100 pounds overweight. It doesn't matter if I'm, skin and bones. You're supposed to love me for me, right? And that's why I always say that when I talk about love, concepts of love, what we couldn't get past were the biological concepts, which is women approach love from an opportunistic, a hypergamous perspective. So it's based on your burden of performance. Like, what can you do? How can you save? Can you protect? Can you provide? And can you be parentally invested? That's the beta male side of hypergamy, right? That's the beta bucks side of hypergamy. What we were ignoring back then was the alpha seed side of hypergamy, which is I want to get with the hot guy in the foam cannon party in Cancun on spring break. I was drunk, he was cute, and one thing led to another. We don't talk about. It's impolite anyways, even to this day, still impolite to talk about, as a man anyways, to talk about the alpha seed side of hypergamy, because women don't want to be judged on that particular side of things. They would, if you ask a woman, what does she want in life, or what does she want out of a guy, she's going to give you all of the things she's attracted to in the long term. Again, it comes down to the 3 Ps: provisioning, protection, and parental investment. That's essentially the beta buck side of things. And so most guys, the 80% of guys, they fall on that side. That's where their strengths are. Their strengths are not in being a natural alpha. Those guys is pretty much obvious. The physical prowess and presence and dominance for a quote unquote natural alpha, which is really, there's no such thing as a natural alpha, but there is certainly natural features of that alpha that can be developed into something that we would call a natural alpha. But that guy pretty much settled. Women, he's lucky with girls. No, he's not. He has a head start because he's better looking than you. He's more muscular than you. He's more dominant than you. So you, as the 80th percentile simp, the 80th percentile chump, the 80th percentile beta male blue pill conditioned beta guy, has to find some way to circumvent that process. And from the 60s, that was easy, right? Or we had a better idea of it then. I think now we've lost our way. We don't really understand like how to circumvent it because it's in like open hypergamy is in our face all the time. And so guys get hopeless, but not so hopeless that they wouldn't spend $4,000 to get some girl on OnlyFans to pay attention to that guy. So all of the stuff that we say we think is all gone now. All the things that like, and I don't want to, again, I'm not going to pick on black pill. I'm not going to pick on whatever. I'm just call them doom pills right now. think that it's doomed. They're doomed. It's hopeless. They don't want to even date. They don't want to have a relationship. They don't want to have anything to do with it. That demographic of guys who think that they're out of the sexual marketplace are the prime demographic for simps. They are the ones who are there throwing money away, small fortunes on women who they will probably never meet in their real life, never see naked other than on maybe from behind the screen. And again, like I've said before, it's not about sex so much as it's about connection. So for all the time, and I'm guilty of this too, so I'm gonna cop to this as well, as I have said in the past, and I still agree with this. I just think that maybe things have, I'll say changed, but maybe the dynamic's a little bit different. We always talk about how women today do not need the beta. They don't need the 3 Ps, right? They don't need the provider, the protector, or the parentally invested guy, because now either the state does that, or there's ask any MGTOW, ask any MRA. You know, the state pretty much covers long-term security for women, even their reproductive security. So it's freezing eggs. Here's the sperm bank. You want to be a mother? No problem. We have all this great funding for you. We've got subsidies. We've got all this special dispensation. You want to go to college? Sure. Here, you're a woman. No problem. We've got a new scholarship for you. We're going to reduce this. We're going to make sure that you're going to succeed. We're going to give you so many special advantages that you even if it's not true, the perception of women having that long-term security in the long run is still something that we think women, and even guys, myself included, think of is just sort of a given. It's granted. Like, women don't have to worry about that anymore. So obviously, if all of those, the beta buck side of hypergamy is taken care of, what's left? The alpha seed, the alpha guys. And we see that all the time. We see that online. It's in our face 24/7, like it's never been before. At least back prior to the internet, you could get away from it. Like, if you were bullied at school, you could go home, or you had friends that were bullied too. And so you and your loser friends got together in the computer club and you became Microsoft. I don't know. You found some way to sort of lift yourself up out of that kind of, you know, being in a lower status and bringing yourself up to an upper status, even if it just meant like getting a good job in a trade or something. So there was always some sort of like, if that wasn't the impetus of it, of becoming better or having the burden of performance was still there. So whether it was sex that was driving it, or it was like personal, you know, drive, or it was just a need for revenge, a need for whatever was motivating that, there was at least some, I don't say a path out of it, but there was at least some kind of drive that guys wanted to do something, even if it was just, you know, that sexual frustration, that sexual angst was prompting them to do something else, to be creative, to be in some way, you know, industrious, I guess, for lack of a better term. Today, we don't have that because guys simply don't want, it's so ubiquitous. There's your vocabulary word for the day. It's so in your face all the time that, yeah, guys get hopeless, and they get hopeless on a global scale right now. And guess what? Guys still form little alliances. They still form little groups of guys who can commiserate about how horrible it is, or this misery that they're in. And yes, I'm going to talk about the misery economy today. And so you can take that misery, and I'll just hit on that real quickly. You can take that dissatisfaction, that discontent, that despondency, and if you're a smart, savvy money guy, you can turn that into a lot of money. And that's why I always say, watch out for success porn guys. Watch out for you know, the Tony Robbins of the world, the motivational speaker guys of the world, the guys who are just jumping in on what you think is your like club, and they use your terms and they use them as the tags for their new coaching business. Yeah, those guys. That's why it's easy to do that. That's one aspect. There's other aspects as well. We'll talk about those later. So simps have always been with us. White knights have always been with us, because really, since, like I said, the sexual revolution, one methodology that really since the boomer generation have used is this idea that they have to identify with the feminine. And I don't know that I've ever done a show about this before, but like I was saying before, in my first book, and I think it's one of the early chapters in my book, it's called Identity Crisis. And I felt, I didn't make it the first one, but I felt it was pretty important enough to put in the beginning of the book, because really since the late 70s, feminism, gynocentrism, what would become gynocentrism, has sort of fostered this idea that men need to get in touch with their feminine side. They need to be in more touch with their emotions. Excuse me. It's that you want to know why I dislike Carl Jung so much? It's the anima animus principle. Now you can say, well, that had merit to it. Okay, maybe it did, but you know what? Gynocentrism and feminism and that element ran with it as if it was gospel freaking truth. And so guys are like, well, I need to comb my daughter's hair more because then I'll get more in touch with my feminine side. Even chore play, where we say, oh, go and wash more dishes, do more domestic chores, do the laundry, make the bed, do the things that are, we would generally call a traditional gender role job or task for a woman. If you go as a guy, it proves that you're actually not this brute moron, and you're in touch with your feelings. And, of course, here in 2020, we realize it's absolute nonsense. Women want a guy who can go outside and split wood and mow the lawn and, look good in no t-shirt. But we don't talk about that anymore. We're still hung up on those tropes that the more a guy identifies with the feminine, the more attractive he's supposed to be to women. And that's where you want to know where the base, here's the germ of the idea of the simp, what that we call the simp now. It's right there. So that's what really kind of separates sort of the Peter Parker or the Steve Rogers when he was like sort of a skinny, Diary of a Wimpy Kid kind of guy, that when he was like skinny like that, that's what separates that guy from today's simp. That guy at least said, well, I got to get better. I got to take the super sauce and then I'll become, a buff guy and I'll be a superhero, or I'm going to get bit by the radioactive spider. I've got to be something more. I've got to find a way to make myself something more. That's a burden of performance, right? Men must become, women just are. So how do I get that? How do I reproduce? How do I, and guys say, well, you're basing all of your premises on men using women as the measurement for their self-worth. Yeah, I am, because that's the way guys would naturally do it for a very long time when we were still ignorant of all of this, when we didn't have the internet, we didn't have access to the data that we have right now. So yeah, guys did that because that's just what you did. I said this before in the Dancing Monkeys episode, it's natural, it's innate for guys to want to show off, to want to in some way get little Susie's attention by riding a wheelie down the street because you want her to like you, smile at you, give her a flower, carry her books home from school, those kinds of things. It's innate. It's something that we do because we want a pretty girl to like us. So eventually we'll start a family with her at some point. That's the way, that's the nice, idyllic way of referring to it. Now it's just simply, we want to spin plates, but we do that. We do it naturally. And honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's wrong if you're going to base your self-worth on women's opinion of you. It's wrong if you use women's estimate of you as the metric for your life. But guys are going to do what they're going to do. And so what happens is the difference between, say, like Peter Parker or the stereotypical nice guy who becomes the superhero, the beta who made good, is that the guys who are simps, they bypass all of that. They think that the key to getting Susie to like them is to go, yeah, Susie, I'm a girl too. That's what it is. It's the male feminist. It's what I'm not going to say that because I'm past the half hour mark, but I don't want to get demonetized. But it's the sneaky effer strategy that Jordan Peterson talks about occasionally. That's what male feminism is. That's what simping is. It's the idea that it's fundamentally based in transactional sex is what it is. Is if I do this, if I behave this way, if I act more like this, I will achieve this. Men are problem solvers. We're idealists. We're more interested in things. We tend to be more idealistic than women. Women tend to be opportunistic. Men are idealistic. And we have to be, because we have to figure out, we have to be creative, we have to be innovative, we have to perform, we have to find some way to circumvent or solve our reproductive problem. Now, when you're an alpha guy and all you got to do is throw a football, then maybe that solves the problem. But for the rest of us, the vast majority of guys who are in the 80 percentile, you've got to find some way to circumvent that. You either got to find a way, an end run around women's hypergamous filter, or what women like to call their female intuition, or else you've got to find some way to make yourself better, authentically make yourself better. So you got to figure it out, or maybe both. You could actually do both, right? Why not? That's the fake it till you make it thing, right? So, learn game. That's an end run around women's hypergamous filter. learn the scripts, learn the subroutines, right? Learn the secrets of women's nature and women's psychology so that you can successfully get into bed with them. That's why, you want to know why alphas and even a lot of betas hate on game so much? Because it works. If it didn't work, guys wouldn't say it. They wouldn't care about it. Nobody would care about game. It does. It did. And that's why women hate it. It's a threat, because it's a threat to them in terms of like reproduction. They don't want to mate with a guy who's actually a beta, but he seemed so alpha. They'll make laws to make sure that doesn't happen. I was in Australia. There's one in Australia. There's actually one, I think, in state legislature in Tennessee not too long ago. Tennessee in the state in the United States. If you as a man, if a woman has sex with you and you like under false pretenses, like you said, I'm a lawyer, I'm gonna make partner any day now, and you're actually like a sandwich artist at Subway, and she has sex with you based on the idea that you were going to be, you want to talk about women's opportunistic nature? We'll legislate to make sure that strategy works for women. So if the guy gets into bed with you, ladies, and he turns out to be a sandwich artist and not, doing his residency at the hospital as a surgeon, then you can say, well, I wouldn't have had sex with him otherwise. So that's rape. I had sex I didn't want to have. That's all that has to require. We will legislate that. We will legislate the optimization of hypergamy right now. But that's why women hate PUA. That's why they think it's misogynist. That's why they think it's sexist. That's why they think it's dangerous. That's why they want to say, it's radicalizing guys. They want anything, like any rock they can throw at PUA, any rock that they can throw at game, they hate, because there's a possibility it works. And it has worked. Provably has worked. Now, things have changed since then, but that's the end run. So that's one way. The other way is actually be the dude, right? Be authentic. Be the guy, but actually make partner in the law firm, right? Actually be the guy that you're presenting yourself as. And I've always been about, being authentic, but you still need game so that you can understand women's nature. In the meantime, fake it till you make it, but make sure that you make it. So there's those things to take into consideration. But right now, when we talk about simps, or when we throw rocks at simps, or when we use that as sort of an invective now, it's an insult to call somebody a simp. Right? It's an insult to call somebody an incel. It's an insult to call somebody an MRA. Right? Everybody's an MRA. In the mainstream media, everybody is an MRA. You're an MRA. I'm going to halt right here really quick, because I had somebody ask, I forget who asked me about this, but yes, I did get the call from Dr. Phil. I know Donovan Sharp got it as well, but it was after me. I turned him down, and then they called Donovan, and Donovan turned him down. Back on Monday, I was hit up by the junior producer. I didn't know that there was a junior and an executive one, but anyways, I spent about 2 hours in an interview just on the phone with a guy, and just telling him what I was about. And I was kind of like, why are you even calling me if you don't know? If you haven't read my books, you haven't seen any of my videos beyond, a smattering of them. What they really wanted me to do was to go up and sort of go head to head with Tomi Lahren. And they sold me on the idea that it was going to be about masculinity in 2020. They wanted to throw me on there with Dr. Warren Farrell, another feminist. It's supposed to be a debate. There's no such thing as a debate on commercial television. In the mainstream media, there's no such thing as a debate. It's only a blood sport. It's only let's whatever, if it bleeds, it leads, right? And so I did the interview, and I was considering it for a while. And then I kind of realized that they wanted, like, they said, well, can you give us some links to where you're a little bit more animated? I'm like, I'm pretty animated, and you would know that if you'd seen the actual Tomi Lahren video that I did. And I think that's where they kind of found me. So I was thinking about it, and I was going to give them some links, and they wanted me to say some certain things and to do a video introducing myself. And I was just like, you know what, for no money on the table, and for, not even airfare down to Burbank. I mean, it's not that far. I could drive, or I could fly myself, but just for the investment to sort of go down there and pull a Roosh like Roosh did with Dr. Oz. No thanks. I'm done. I'm not going to do that. I have no need to do that. So, and I think they called Donovan after that. So there you have it. That's the story of Dr. Phil. I know people were asking me about that. So there you go. Yes. It's really kind of surreal for me to say I turned down Dr. Phil. And I technically, I guess I turned down Tommy Lahren too. I actually wouldn't have a problem debating Tommy Lahren. Just don't sell me on this nonsense about, oh, it's about masculinity in 2020. No, you just want a cat fight, and I'm not going to get in a cat fight. So that was why I said that. So anyways, let's talk about simps for a second. When we are talking about like modern day simps, the first thing I've got a few items here, and then I'm going to get to the economic side of things, but simps are the idea of simps, or the idea of identifying with the female is fundamentally transactional. I've talked about transactional sex versus validational sex. Transactional sex is what 90% of guys only ever know in their entire lives. They never really know true desire from a woman. They never have the woman who wants to tear their clothes off and have hot monkey sex like the sex they see on pornography every day. Most guys will not be a porn. You will not be Sterling Cooper. And even those guys, for the most part, maybe there's a lot of women that really want that and they're really into it, but it's a job. They're sex workers, right? They're not prostitutes. They're sex workers. But most guys, I think that's one of the things, and I was just writing about this. I was updating the part in book 4 about pornography. And yes, there's quite a bit about porn in the religion book. So in case you were curious, but I was writing about that, and I was contemplating this, is that there's a lot of guys, particularly on the religious side of things, who still are essentially simps. I mean, there's almost no way you can't be a simp. I know you guys were joking around in the chat a little while ago. Oh, we're all simps for Rollo. That's really what's called a crisis of motive. Why do you do what you do? What is it that motivates you to perform, right? To do things? You're a dancing monkey. Well, it's just a hobby, man. I just enjoy it. No, you're a dancing monkey. You only do this hobby because you want girls to like you. Well, you can say that about damn near any interest that a guy has. Anything. You watch this show, you're a simp for Rollo. You know, you watch Game of Thrones, you're a simp for whatever that blonde chick. I've never seen an episode of Game of Thrones. Sorry, I know. But whoever, you're a simp for whatever. And you can use that as sort of this just sort of blanket insult for whatever you want. But I do think that there is a definite definition of what a simp is. Certainly what a white knight is. And it's usually the guys who are pedestalizing women. If you look in the Urban Dictionary, I hate to use the Urban Dictionary, but I guess I have to. A simp is a guy who is just essentially pedestalizing women. It's the guy who will go to bat for women. It's the guy who will go, hey, man, leave her alone. That's the guy. You've seen that meme, I'm sure. Hey, man, leave her alone. The guy who wants to stick up for women's rights. The guy who, unsolicited, will hope that some woman within earshot will hear him say, hey, that's not the way we do things in this generation. Women can be astronauts too, right? Hear that, ladies? Women can be astronauts too. And that's the guy. No one cares what his opinion is. The guy's just throwing it out there with a hope that some woman is going to go, oh, really? My hero. Like that kind of thing. Oh, I identify with you. I'm on team woman. That's the sneaky effer strategy. It's also what I've called beta game. Now I've talked about this before, but I'll just quickly reiterate it here because it kind of dovetails into my second point, which is that beta game. When I've talked about beta game, it's usually identification. It's usually the more I identify with the female, the more I identify with the feminine, the more women will like me. There's no greater post 70s male strategy than the more I'm like a woman, the more women will like me. Because that's really what it boils down to. It's not about equality. It's not about being on board. It's not being on the right side of history. No, it's being on the right side of getting after it, getting laid. That's what it really is. And the more, a lot of guys think that if they get in there or if they can convince women that they're really on their side, and it works really good if you can kind of work some chick crack in there. If you, it's just a spiritual thing, man. It's this new convergence of spirituality and just something that I feel like, women are so much better than guys. If we just would allow them to run the world, then the world would be a better place. Oh, here, have me. That's what they think is going to happen. And it's never been easier to simp. Because we have the internet. That's why we have a term for it. We called it back, like I said, in the early days, we called it white knighting because that's something we had used from the 90s and I think probably into the early 2000s. That's really what it is. It's like, I'm coming to save my lady's honor, and unsolicited. I've said this also, is that when it comes to blue pill alphas, and you can be a blue pill conditioned alpha, a natural alpha, or a, socialized alpha, whatever, but you are alpha enough to think that your masculine duty is to protect my lady, or defend not just a particular woman, but to protect womankind, to be part of the sisterhood. And that's really where simping comes into its own. Those guys who are simping, or that we would say are like, I looked at dozens of videos on simping before I came on here today. And I would say probably a good 70-80% of them didn't have any meat to them. It was just like, here's a tweet of a guy. It's like cringe, and cringe gets a lot of views. Let me tell you, if you can throw cringe out, cringe is red meat, right? If you can throw cringe videos out, like, oh, can you believe this guy did this? He's a simp. Or even Paul Joseph Wanson about 6 months ago did a video called Simp, and it was just one after the other, because it's easy. They're easy to find. It's everywhere. The example of simping is everywhere, because guys want that. They want to find the end run around having to actually do something. What's funny is I would say this. I would say simping today is sort of the blue pill equivalent of guys who only ever do just PUA. Like, they never become anything more than just the game. Like, they don't learn. It's just like rote memorization. It's the same thing. I should say that. It serves the same purpose. The latent purpose of game is to get a woman into bed, and maybe start a relationship with her. I mean, it's not always just about, notch count, or it didn't used to be anyways, but that's what that people want to make it out to be that. But it's the same thing. That's all simping is. That's all sneaky effort game is. Like, I'm a male feminine. I'm an ally. Yeah. You know why? Because you don't want to have to do anything to actually be authentic and qualify for a woman's, genuine interest in you as, a developed alpha. And again, I'm using alpha and beta and abstracts here. I'm not saying, oh, you're a silverback gorilla as an alpha. No, it's just they're placeholder terms. So just get over it. So when you go from being like, I'm on team woman, expecting women to appreciate you. Also, another thing is like, this is a red pill standard. Women will fundamentally lack the capacity to appreciate what men do to facilitate their realities. So even when you're throwing $4,000 at her, or like somebody showed me a tweet of this guy who his girlfriend, or maybe it was somebody that was like a cam girl or something, was saying that she only needed $75 to get something for school. It wasn't like shoes or anything like that. It was just for something. And the guy ended up giving her like $500 instead of $75. That's simping. Oh, here, my lady, there's $500, little girl, sugar baby. She being a sugar daddy. Is that simping? Technically, it meets the definition of it. I mean, you're paying for it. You're not even getting anything in return for it, really. Bella Thorne made all you guys simps. Every last dude, $2 million worth of simps right there overnight. Bam. Oh, well, let me keep going here. Bonafide suitor. I like that too. It's like, I'm going to be the guy for you. What I think is interesting about the whole, let's see, the identification narrative, and let me backtrack a little bit here, because I do want to stay on top of these things today. I got to NEO. Let's see, alpha mailed. I got to you. Alpha mailed says, what would you say to a guy who sent a gamer chick 2 simpish 80s songs from YouTube on her social media? Is it wrong? Is it funny? Is it simping? All of the above. It's funny because you make an idiot out of yourself when everybody sees you do it. So yeah, it is. I would say so. The bigger question is this: is like, why? We can sit here all day. You guys want to just sit here all day long? I can throw out example after example and go, you want us to do that? Or do you want to know why? Do you want to know why these guys are doing what they're doing? Why does it seem natural for those guys? Why does that seem like a way or a means or methodology to solve your reproductive problem? Why is that? Why do guys default to that? Why do guys think that the more they can defend my lady's honor, The more they can, what's called like women eat this up because they do what's called damseling, right? Oh, like the women who are like strong, empowered women, like the strong, independent woman type. They're not above going, oh, I can't believe I've been so maligned by guys on Tinder or guys on whatever social media platform. They'll damsel, and what will happen is when women are damseling, it's usually just for to get beta orbiters, and beta orbiters are simps by definition. By today's definition, they are pedestalize the woman, do anything for the woman. Like the guy that I was telling you about before, the guy who what does it say? I don't. God, I put this up so many times. I don't really want to put it up again. But the dude, the dude from I want to say maybe it's 4chan. I'm not really sure. Or it's either Reddit or 4chan. I'm not. It looks like a Reddit post, or excuse me, a 4chan post. And the guy says, I spent $4,000 on OnlyFans. It's not only sexual. I fall in love with a girl on OnlyFans, and I want her to feel that I'm going to do anything for her. That's it right there. I want her to feel like I'll do anything for her to the tune of $4,000. I then get obsessed. I spend about half of my monthly income on her. I come to a point where it makes me angry that she won't get to know me in real life, and I fall into a deep depression. So what that is a methodology. That's a methodology that most guys in the past would do with an actual girl that they actually knew, that maybe they met in college, or maybe they met in high school, or maybe they knew from their localized sexual marketplace. And that would happen. And it was pretty rare. Right? I mean, or let's say it was, maybe if it wasn't rare, it only happened so many times. Right? You get with one girl, you get rejected. I'm rejected. I think I'm going to go drink, whatever. And then you get over it and you go and start it again. Oh, better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. But that was fairly like a slow process. In the internet age, the turnaround is quick, man, because there's so many girls that are online that know that. That's the process. One reason why girls were so teed off about Bella Thorne is because she ruined their scam. She ruined that process. She stepped in and took a lot of money really quick. It's one thing if it's circulating, I'm going to get this wrong. I'm not an economist. I'm not an endocrinologist. I'm not even a clinical psychologist. I am definitely not an economist. So what that says to me is, like, when you pull a lot of money out of a closed system or closed market, what's that called? Is that inflation or deflation? I don't know, but it imbalances that system. That's why women were all hacked off at her, because she took a lot of money all at once out of the system that they were at least being able to, like, sort of, interplay, parlay amongst themselves by guys exactly like the guy that I'm reading right here. So then he says, I go through the depressed phase, I masturbate, I cry, I delete her, and then I fall in love with the next one, and so on and so on. That's what I'm talking about here. So simping is not just an isolated thing. It's a way of life for these guys. So when a guy says to me, oh, how do I get out of this, Rollo? How do I break the negative feedback loop? How do I stop this? Well, it's easier now than ever before. And I could tell you, I can give you some ideas, like, how can I stop thinking this way? Well, I can tell you why you do what you do, but it's never been easy. It's like porn addiction. This is really what this is. It's a porn addiction. Although it's not porn, it's kind of like this emotional need. It's this connection addiction, or this false kind of like vicarious connection that guys really want. Even guys who are allegedly MGTOW, even guys who are allegedly doom pill guys, like all these guys. One of the things that sort of like changed my mind about MGTOW recently, within the last, like, say 6 to 8 months. It's like, again, I'm not hack. Again, I have nothing against MGTOW. Okay. Got it. But I've seen enough guys who claim to be MGTOW who I know are simping, who I know in the background, like when they're not online, I know because the girls tell me that this guy's trying to get me to come to this country. This guy is paying for my ride. This guy who everybody who thinks is like sort of this luminary in the MGTOW community. Now I come to find out that the guy is very much a big simp. Now, I'm not saying they're all like that, but I'm saying that simping is something that is endemic to this at least the last 2 or 3 generations. And again, it comes from the idea that you can do an end run around, actually, getting to the point where you're going to have validational sex rather than transactional sex. And that's really what it comes down to. So guys are paying money for attention. Secondly, a simp is a guy who is very comfortable and like reflexively self-abasing or self-deprecating. Pat Campbell. Pat Campbell and I have talked about this, where even like public officials, especially in religious circles, pastors, church leaders, it's almost, I would say it's almost like you're required to be self-deprecating when you introduce your wife, or you're my better half here. If you're a pastor, if you're a politician, if you are, the mayor, if you're like a leader of men, if you're a leader of industry, it's like almost incumbent upon you as a man to in some way reduce yourself, with the thinking that by doing so, you are lifting that woman up, and not just your wife, or not just the woman that you're actually familiar with, but womankind in general, the sisterhood. What you're saying is, when you do that, when you say, "Oh, I can't believe it. Look at my beautiful wife, my beautiful bride, right? Look at my beautiful bride. I can't believe she would go out with a schmuck like me. I'm such a loser. It must be a God thing. I don't see how else she would ever tolerate me." Even, what was it? Yang. Is it Andrew Yang? The Yang gang, the Yang, the presidential guy. Remember when he was saying something like, "Oh, my wife will let me," or his wife said, I let him run for president because of this particular issue or something, and people jumped all up his ass and I did too, about her saying, so who's going to run the country, you or her? And of course nothing ever happened about that, but that idea that she's the one who wears the pants, right? She's the one who's in charge. She's the one who's making the decision. She's the one who allows him to do things. When guys line up for that and they go, "Well, can't beat them, join them. Yeah, she's the boss." How many guys do you know, married dudes, who go, "Yeah, my wife, I got to check it with the little lady. I mean, let me check with the wife. Gotta ask the boss. Oh, I really want a Harley Davidson, but can't get one. Can't, man. Wife said no. No. Why? We gotta go visit her folks." That's simping too, because you are essentially, you want to know what the basis of simping is? It's making women your mental point of origin. And that's easy. Again, it's easy to see that when you look at these guys whose reflexive tweets, that it doesn't have to be solicited. It doesn't have to be a woman damseling. A guy will just jump in and go, "Hey man, let me police the actions and let me police the thoughts of these guys because they're not thinking right. They should be thinking in gynocentric terms. So let's talk about how women can be better, or men should let women play professional sports," or whatever their little, pet issue is. That's simping, because they make women their mental point of origin. It's not that they're going, "Well, how does this affect me? And then what should I do?" It's always the default is to think about how a decision, how a tweet, how any kind of sentiment, whether written or said, spoken in any way affects the sisterhood. And so, yes, when you guys are asking me about like what was the question you guys asked me a minute ago? It was, what do you say to, okay, that wasn't it. It was the blue pill. Like, is the blue pill what does a blue pill conditioning entail? That you want to know what the result of it is? The product of it is men thinking in terms of they have to in some way appease gynocentrism. And that's the best way to, when it comes to identification, it used to be, let's identify with the female, let's identify with the feminine. And if I do that, that's going to put me in a better standing with them because women will like me and they'll appreciate me for holding up equality. And really what they're doing is they're signing up for their own extinction. That's why they hate their own gender. That's why they hate masculinity, or they completely make it a subjective thing, subjectivize, if that's a word, subjectivize masculinity for themselves, because they don't want to have anything to do with anything that might put them out of the good graces of a gynocentric social order or the sisterhood uber alles. So you can't be accused of wrongthink in a gynocentric social order. And that's usually, well, shouldn't women be running the world anyways? Yeah. And if I go and I say it and I do it without having to be asked to say it, then I'm going to get in better graces with the sisterhood. And then eventually they're going to want to have sex with me. That's the end run, because it makes more sense. It's easier to do that. It's easier to just parrot back what you think sounds right than it is to actually, measure up to your burden of performance, have yourself as your mental point of origin, because God forbid you be, thought of as a jerk or self-centered or self-important, or that you in some way have yourself as your mental point of origin and you are going to make decisions based on that, rather than, coming to some reflexive binary extreme saying, oh, women should be, they should run the world. We need a female world emperor. Okay. So really, when it comes to simping, sometimes it's not solicited. It's something that just is sort of like comes because it's part of the programming, right? It's part of the conditioning. When you have kids, when you have boys who are taught from a very early age that boys will not be boys, scratch out the boys and put in boys will be good humans, because boys aren't good humans. They're only good humans after they've been processed and conditioned by gynocentrism. They're only good humans. They only have any kind of value so long as they mouth the words of feminism and gynocentrism, and they go along with it, and they think according to what is in the best interest of the feminine imperative. And so therefore that's approved. You grow up from 5 years old. You see that stuff on the walls. You see that in your cartoons. You see it in Pixar. You see it in your popular music. You see it in your college classes, your teacher, your 77% of teachers. Yeah, that's going to be your reflex. So simping is a natural thing because, first of all, guys want to have some attention, and that's how they get it. That's how they've been taught that this is the right way to get this. There used to be, in the good old days, back when church and social conventions meant something different. It used to be that religious or moral ideals were what sort of directed guys with respect to like women. And I'm not making a moralistic appeal here. I'm just saying this is the mechanics of it. Is that so? Like, for instance, like say premarital sex. Like no premarital sex. You can't have sex until you're married. Why? Because I want to have sex. Well, how do I get around that? Well, you got to do these things, and you got to make yourself somebody who is marriageable so that you can have sex. And that worked pretty well for a while because women actually had to hold up their end of the bargain. Now, not everybody, of course, people have sex before marriage. We know that. Okay, it's technically untenable, certainly in this day and age. But it used to have a function. The mechanics of it made sense, if not the practice of it. Because there's fallout, there's social fallout, there's physical and biological fallout even too for that. But guys are deductive problem solvers. So we'll find ways to solve certainly the reproductive problem. And if it's either, we'll always find the shortest distance between A and B, right? They'll put two points. If it's easier to pretend that you are on team woman because you think you're going to get laid as a result of that, you're a simp. You are putting womankind as making women and the sisterhood and womankind as the metric of your own self-worth. And not only that, you're enforcing it on other guys. You're a policeman. It's like what I call it. Male space. When women come into male space, when they come into the locker room where guys are, it's an all-male team, all-male space, all-male game, all-male corporation. When women come in there, they come in there because they want to be the trailblazer, right? They want to be the first female astronaut or the first female NASCAR driver, first female whatever. That's where it starts. But what comes after that is women become the overseers in the locker room then. So once a woman is in that male space, and men are not, of course, ever allowed into female space, because if they are, they look either like they're homosexual or they're there for nefarious reasons. No one believes, especially now in 2020, no one believes in the nice guy archetype anymore. There are no nice guys. Nice guys died probably around 2005 because women don't believe that you're a nice guy anymore. They love it when you take their side. They love it when you are a beta orbiter. They love it when you toss money at them and they get attention. But it's that's the economic side of it. I'll get back to that. But when guys are in when we're solving a problem, we do so deductively. And we're always going to look for the easiest way around. Why wouldn't we? Right? Not instead of the harder way, like actually earning something, actually building something and doing it for other reasons, or maybe additional reasons to wanting to get with a woman. Most guys want to get with women sexually or otherwise, or, relationship wise. There's different reasons. Most guys want to have sex. Most guys want to have babies. Most guys want to be a father at some point. It's our biological imperative. If we didn't, we wouldn't have interests in our own paternity. We wouldn't get jealous. We wouldn't be mate guarding. So, let me keep going here. NEO, thank you for that. Let's see. John Doe says, who would you, want to win? A guy with alpha looks with beta mindset, or a beta looks with an alpha mindset who has the upper hand when it comes to hypergamy? I've always said this is that alpha is a mindset. It is not a demographic. So you can be, you can be Captain America, right? If you still got that beta mindset, you're not going to be, you got an alpha body, but you're still beta up here. A lot of guys get into that. That's why I wrote, Dream Girls and Children with Dynamite. Guys are still betas. They still, that was a warning. You'll find that chapter in book one. Yeah. That was a warning, because so many guys were getting into game and they were learning how to do that end run around women's hypergamous filter, but they were still simps, right? They're still living in that blue. They did so because they thought it would facilitate getting to what their ideal was, which was formed and based on blue pill conditioning, on blue pill idealism, on clinging to that. So it's like, oh man, I got the keys to the Lamborghini, but you've never driven a Lamborghini before. Or it's like going to the dojo and they go, oh, don't worry about the white belt here. We're going to give you the black belt. Go into the ring. You're a black belt now. Go in with that other black belt over there. You think you're going to win that fight, or are you going to just get pummeled? That's what it boils down to, is if you're not prepared for that. If you have, hey, but we're just going to say you're a black belt, go ahead and you didn't earn it. You didn't do anything for it. You don't have the mindset. You're still clinging to the white belt way of thinking. So yeah, you're going to get your ass kicked. That's how it works. Them's the realities of it. Sam Whiskey says, now guys go to baby showers is sad. Yeah, they go to baby showers because they're simps? Or do they go to the baby showers because their wives drag them there because they say, if you don't, you're an insecure male? I did not go to my own baby shower. Put it that I have one child. I never went to a baby shower. I've never been to a baby shower in my life. Does that make me a badass? No, it doesn't make me a badass. It just means I didn't want to go. And nobody cared that I went or didn't go. And nobody said, oh, you don't want to wear pink? What? You're an insecure man? No. And it doesn't make me a simp, and it doesn't make me not a simp. Just, that's the way it is. But if you're going there, like, what's the means? I talked about this. And this isn't in any book, but it's crisis. Well, no, it is. It's actually in book 2, I think. Crisis of motive. Why do you do what you do? Why do you go to the gym? I want to be healthy. I want to have muscles. I want to lift heavy things. I want to be ready for the apocalypse. Good. But you know what else happens? Women notice that you lost weight and they know you're more muscular and you look better and they want to get after it with you. That's not why I do it. Yes, it is. It's okay. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with wanting to go and look better so that chicks will get on you. But I mean, that's the only thing. Okay. But I mean, there's side benefits. So what's your main benefit? Is your main benefit going there and just like, I want to be stronger. I want to be a better dude. Okay, great. If that's your primary benefit, well, then the secondary benefit is that women want to get with guys that look like you. Or is it, I want to look better because I want chicks to jump all over my junk, right? Okay, great. Well, maybe the side benefit of women jumping on your junk is actually better health. Okay, good. Doesn't matter. I don't care. Either way. It's when guys say, so that's one example of crisis of motive. It's, I just do it for me. Okay, but there's other reasons for it. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's no shame in that at all. It's when guys try to shame you for it, or women even try to say, well, you're really self-absorbed, aren't you? Yeah. So, what am I supposed to be absorbed with you? Is that what are you implying? Let's see what else here. NEO. You guys these are some on topic questions today. I'm impressed. Thank you, class. Victor Reyes says, I'm talking about friendships later in the live stream. Do all women who friend zone men and have them around see those men as beta male simps? Yes, they do. Victor, I'll get to that later. You will. I promise you, I will talk about that here in a bit. I know I had it here. I guess I don't. Damn it. Sorry, Vince. Maybe I do. Arnold here says, when you say that a guy should maximize his potential and reach his peak at English at 35, do you mean the red pill trifecta game, looks, money, status, or looks, game, status, whatever? I lump status in, by the way, into money and affluence. So yeah. Where the guy makes the most of his alpha traits. Yes. Primarily, yes. So guys will fight me on that. They'll go, well, I was much better looking when I was in my 20s. Okay, maybe, but you didn't have the same game. You didn't have the same experience. You didn't have the same. It's simply the simple thing is this: is it takes longer for men to mature into their peak potential than it does for women. Women get to be 22, 23 because we're different, because we're looking for different things as men and as women. Men are primarily looking for fertility and beauty and sexual access. Men are looking for that in women. Women are looking for a guy who's got, there's a laundry list of things, right? One of usually at the top of that list is looks. Yes. Yeah, there you go. Okay, throw your bone. Here's your bone. Here's your bone. Looks maxers. Yes. Looks count. Game counts. Money and status and affluence counts. And how do you who gets that? How long does it take for the average guy to get those up to sort of like their maximized potential? Or at what age does a guy have his maximum potential years to have all of those sort of in the row? And when do women need those particular aspects in a man? Like women always say, I want the complete package. Well, when does a guy have the complete package? Some guy, people say, well, what about Justin Bieber, man? He had fame and money and good looks and da-da-da. Yeah, and he's the biggest chump on planet Earth. Sorry, Biebs, but you are. And I think your wife would probably agree with me. Or let's look at Prince Harry, right? Prince Harry had a lot going for him, except the mindset, right? Prince Harry he could have got with some really good, he was already getting with, like in the tabloids, he was always with some hot little piece of ass, right? I mean, he was always with, he flies helicopters. He was in pretty good shape back, at least when he was in the military. He's royalty. I mean, status. You don't get higher status than that, right? And money and everything else. And guess what? Beta, blue pill, mindset, simp. And where is he now? What's he doing now? Miserable. Misery economy. Yes, we're going to talk about that here in a second. Miserable. And promoting the idea that his lifestyle is great, that all guys should follow on. Like he's a role model. Like he's somebody that you should aspire to be Prince Harry. What? Well, yeah, that follows for a lot of guys in this generation who are simping. They'll be the first. What's funny to me is whenever I've done this because I said Prince Harry is likely to kill himself. I don't want him to kill himself. Let's clarify that right now. But I've said in the past, I said he's with a borderline personality disordered woman who is very full of herself. He was just the means to an end. He's isolated from his family. He's isolated from his friends. He's given up his rifles. He's given up his pheasant hunting. He's given up everything that used to make him hairy. He's not hairy anymore. Harry, not H-A-I-R-Y. He's not Harry anymore. What happened to Harry? She erased him and put somebody else there. Simp Harry is there now. So here's a guy. Okay, maybe he's not like Giga Chad, okay, but he was better looking in the past, like when he was younger, okay. But here he is. All mindset, man. It's all what you're willing to accept. You're going to be a simp. It doesn't matter if you're Giga Chad. If you're a simp, you're a simp. Like I said before on Blue Pill Alphas, like people were like, what do you mean Blue Pill Alpha? Yeah. They think that alpha is synonymous with red pill. No, it's not. There's a lot in fact, there's probably more natural blue pill alphas than red pill alphas because those guys make the worst white knights. There's the guys that want to fight you because you apologize to the lady. Like that guy gets in your face. You're like, oh, okay, sorry. That guy's going to beat your head in. Yeah, that's a blue pill alpha. There's also red pill beta. There's tons and tons of them. There's probably 1,000 of them in the chat right now are going to be commenting. It's not mutually exclusive. You can be blue pill and be an alpha and be red pill and be a beta. Easy. In fact, I would say most red pill guys who become red pill, they're trying to find ways to become better. I mean, remember we talked, you want to be the best version of yourself. Okay. So there's that aspect of it. Let's go on here. I want to keep moving because I got some other points I wanted to talk about. I also want to talk about Iron Rule of Tomassi number 9, which is it's from the essay called Sorry. And what that means is never self-deprecate. And that's sort of the little advice that I have for most guys, because most guys default to self-deprecation. And that's what all simps do. They think that by making her more or making himself less, that she becomes more. And really all you do when you do that is confirm for her hindbrain that you're a chump, that you're a simp, that you are beneath her in sexual market value. And you confirm it for her vocally, hey, I can't believe it must be a God thing. She loves me and tolerates me and lets me watch hockey in the guest room occasionally on a Monday. Lucky you, right? But when you confirm yourself as being a loser to a woman publicly and you say it enough times, you're the loser. And remember what hypergamy is based on. It's based on doubt. Is he the best I can do? You say, I am in no way the best that she can do. She is so great. If you say, if that's your default, that's your reflexive answer, you're not going to be in that relationship very much longer. Or if you are, she's just going, don't expect her to have anything beyond starfish sex with you. You will not get that. When I've said this in, I think I said this with Pat Campbell, is like when I see guys do that, women tend to go, it's like cringeworthy when they do that, because women's ego is associated with the kind of man that they can get. So if they're with an alpha guy and he's not sort of, turning himself into self-abasement or deprecation, if he doesn't do that, or God forbid he gets cocky and funny, I introduce my wife or somebody, oh, your wife's so wonderful, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, yeah, she's lucky to have me. And it seems like I'm being like, facetious. Oh, wait, you're such a beast. I will never self-deprecate. You will never hear me say, oh, here's my better half. My wife is gorgeous. She's fantastic. I love her to death. And we've had a fantastic relationship for 24 years. You will not ever hear me say, oh, well, gosh, I can't believe she'd go out with a dork like me. Those words have never and will never come out of Rollo Tomassi's mouth. Let's see. So let's see. I talked to you about that. Yeah. So that was that. Vince, this was good. Thank you for that 20 British pounds. So I'm going to have to answer this in a Bonnie British accent. I find that nowadays simping is also an expectation. Is also an expectation. Yeah, it is from beta orbiters for sure. I've had times where I've received anger by not showing simp-like behavior. How I only find this with women on the lower end of the quality spectrum. However, I only find this on. Yeah, well, that's interesting, because how do you decide, particularly online, whether or not that woman is on the lower end of the quality spectrum? It's a myth to think of women as being quality women or being non-quality women. Women are just women. I think probably I'm going to put this in the great big book of everything, but I need to do an episode on good girls, on the good girl mythology and the good girl archetype. Just really quickly, I think a lot of guys, when they simp, they're doing so because that girl, that woman, whoever, matches this ideal. It's the nice girl. It's the wholesome girl. I've had guys tell me, "Oh, I need a wholesome woman." It's almost like a stand-in for the virgin bride kind of thing, like Madonna whore complex. It's a stand-in for the virgin bride, and I want the wholesome woman. I want the girl who is going to bake cookies and be a good mommy, and I want her to still bang me like Jenna Jameson or whatever porn star that Sterling's doing right now. But she's got to be a good mother and go pick up the kids from soccer practice. I need someone wholesome. Women are women. Okay, stop. You want to stop simping? Here's how you stop simping. Stop calling women quality women. Call them women. I did an episode with Pat Campbell, and we were talking about, I think the main topic of it was, can you trust women? I'll put that as the last video on this one, so you can go check that out. Can you trust women? And at the end of that video, we came to the conclusion that you can trust women to be women. You can get into a predictive framework with women, and from there, it's really on you. So when you go, well, and yes, are there some women who are better than others? Are there some women who have been raised differently? Are some are more religious? Are some have different programming, right? Have they learned different things? Absolutely, they have. But the same, like, no guy marries a woman and goes, man, she's really low quality. No, nobody does that. You would not want to start a long-term relationship with a woman that you, like, everybody in yourself said, yeah, she's really low quality. I'm not having anything to do with her. You wouldn't get to that point. I mean, logically anyways, maybe if you're insane, if your wife is an ex-stripper, or your wife is an ex-porn star, or your wife is actually still an escort and still whoring on the side, and you are too stupid and too beta to realize that that's what she's doing. Do you think that, at the end of the day, like, well, she's quality, I think I'll marry her? Okay. But when you're sitting across the table at the divorce settlement, she's suddenly that bitch that took everything from you. She's suddenly a monster. She's suddenly a demoness. So get over the idea of quality women. Quality women, because what happens is when you think of them in those terms, you are very susceptible to one-itis, very susceptible to the soulmate myth. She's the one. Of course they are. Anyone you want, you would not get into a long-term relationship if you didn't think it was going to work out. If you didn't like the sex and you didn't think there was a future to it. Most guys wouldn't anyways. I mean, serial monogamists. Yeah. Every one girl that they got with, well, I thought she was going to be great. I was in love with her. She was in love with me. Now we're not. So now she's not quality. It's stupid. It's just, it's a mental block, but it's a mental framework. It's a mythology. So you can't think of women in terms of quality. Oh, she's quality. Things change, man. Women are opportunistic. Hypergamy changes. Maybe she's in love with you. Maybe she really is, but you had to get to that point. Like, guys will tell me, well, women can't really love you. No, they can, but you've got to get past the filter. You've got to have something on the checklist. You've got to get past the opportunism so you can get from her loving you for what you are. And hopefully this happens. For most guys, it doesn't, because for most guys, simps, it's a transactional thing. So you are what you can provide. You are what you are, not who you are. Now, if you are in a validational situation where the woman is really into you and she wants to have she doesn't want to just have babies. She wants to have your babies. When she's really into you and she's really committed, and you have what Nick Krauser has called deep conversion. When you get to that point, then you still have to go through what you are and the opportunism, but you get to a point where she's really more invested emotionally in you. Remember, when I talk about how women love opportunistically, what I'm saying is, and I don't mean this in a bad way or a clinical way or, whatever, but what I mean is that you have to have something. You have to have at least a few of the checks on the checklist to get to the point where a woman will invest in you emotionally. Usually, and for a lot of guys, that never even happens. You were just the best option at the time. You're the plan B. I've done lots of stuff about plan B. And I mean that, like, there's always a guy who's sort of waiting in the wings, or you were the next best option to the guy that she couldn't lock down. So is she ever gonna, I'll tell you what's really sad, what's really pitiful is when I hear like an old guy dies, or an old couple, like, great divorce, right? An old couple get divorced. And I hear the wife, the old wife, who's late 50s, early 60s, will say, well, old Ben, he was just a part of me I could never give to him. But then there was this guy back in the 50s who died on Dead Man's Curve. And, oh, man, he was just, the alpha widow. It's the alpha widow narrative. So there's always, like, women will get into situations with guys who they think are good enough guys. They're the guys that they settle for. And now women will chomp at the bit if you even suggest that she should settle for the good enough guy, because every woman's a queen now, right? Every woman is a princess or a queen. She starts as a princess and now she's a queen, and then she's a goddess right after that. very high opinion of themselves, very entitled to the best of the best. And that locks in with hypergamy, right? That hypergamy does not seek its own level. It seeks above what that woman actually deserves or actually perceptually thinks that she deserves. So I want somebody economically attractive. She's got to make 58% more than I do. No, still doesn't satisfy the visceral side of things. What else? What else did you have, Blue Eyes? Simping is trying to find the quick and easy backdoor behind hypergamy because no one wants to put in the work. Yes, there you go. And they think that it's sneaky effort game. Did I miss anybody else? Oh, I got one more here. So that was Sam Whiskey. Oh, okay. Sam Whiskey says, sorry, I'm getting these in here late. Let's see, Arnold. I got to you. Sam Whiskey says, now guys, go to baby showers. Got that. Chris Von Erich, thank you. I did not realize how much I simped until I read The Rational Male and reflected upon my younger life. Yeah. That's one of those things where it's like, it's also, I think guys have a revelation when they were like, they'll listen to an old song or they'll hear something on the radio or something and they'll start singing along and then they'll have the red pill lens and they go, do I really want to be singing? Do I want this in my head? I used to laugh at that. Like, I used to laugh at the idea that like, you have to be careful of what you read, what you put in your head, what you listen to, what kind of art that you appreciate. I'm not saying that, I like, hard Swedish black metal. That's right. I like a lot of, I'm pretty eclectic in my things that I really like, but I understand like how guys can go back and they'll go, man, I really love that song from the 80s. It was this song is, Here We Go Again, or some Journey or REO Speedwagon or Whitesnake song or some silly power ballad from the 80s. And you go, man, was I really that into this song back then? Did I even sing these songs? I mean, you can go and listen to songs and really get into the groove of it or the beat or the guitar or whatever. I mean, as a musician, right? You can appreciate different aspects of a song, but when you're 14 years old and you hear something like that, you don't realize, I don't think like you don't realize the narrative that's being fed to you. I used to simp. I used to think the same thing. I used to think that when I was 14, 15 years old, I got to be your friend first. Be your friend, and then she'll want to get intimate with you, or then you'll have a girlfriend, and you'll hold hands and smooch, right? And there was a way to do that. This was way before the internet was around. Do all those things, and for the guys who would be losers, had to figure out a way to be better, to not be losers. And there's nothing that motivates guys not to be a loser. There's nothing right now that motivates guys to not be a simp. There's no buffers. There's no like, I can remember. Now, here's the thing. I remember when I was like 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. Now, I had sex for the first time at 17, but so let's just say from between 14 and 17. I used to think that. Even after I had sex, I was still very much a simp because I thought, first girl who has sex with me, she must be the one. I got to do any. I would have said exactly the same thing. I want her to know that I would do anything for her. She didn't want me to do anything for her. She didn't want that. She didn't want a guy. She wanted to be with a guy. And I know this now. I didn't know it then. What's my 17-year-old, blue pill addled brain. I didn't know that. There's one of the 16 commandments of Poon, I think is never say you love her first. Simps say that I love you first. And it's not because you're like this horrible, unemotional, not emotionally available guy. It makes pragmatic sense because it establishes frame. The one who says I love you first is the one who is acquiescing frame. And guys are because guys, particularly the 80% of guys, they're in a position of scarcity. They're in a position where it's like, I don't have that much sexual opportunity, so I need to invest in one woman. And whoever the first girl is will spread her legs. That's the kind of girl for me. Otherwise, why? Why would she? Because I'm such a loser and I'm going to self-abase myself. And so therefore that'll make her feel better. Right. So support women, futures female. I would have said exactly the same thing at 14, 15, 16, 17, even all the way up to like 18 years old. I would have said the same thing. Thinking that it was going to get me in there, thinking that was going to be the means to a good, solid relationship. I believed all that. And remember, this is like before, maybe when Oprah first started, right? This is before all that stuff. Like, this has been around forever. Simping has been forever. Simping is eternal. It's been around. Like, guys always try to find ways in and out. In and out. So let's see. Simping is encouraged by gynocentrism for gender parity. That was my next point here. Public declarations identifying with gynocentrism reinforces gender tropes. So as I was saying before, is another reason why you see simping as, I think, endemic right now, or like the pandemic of simping. The reason why we even have a word for it right now is because it's never been easier, but a gynocentric social order and an economic social order depend on you repeating it over and over and over again. It depends on you declaring your allegiance to the sisterhood. Because if guys do it and guys are policing other guys' thoughts, you'll notice that whenever if I tweet something out, or not even just me, like it could be any of the guys on Rule Zero, it could be any guy who is, let's just say marginally red pill, puts out something out there like saying, like a standards list, like that was a really easy one. Rich always puts that one out, like 6 different things. Here's 6 different ways you can make yourself better for men. You want a husband? You want a guy to love you? You want a guy to commit to you? You want a guy to bang you? You want a guy to whatever? Here's 6. And be pretty, be thin, learn to cook, stay clean, blah, 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 whatever. Like just basic stuff that that is in any other era, it would not be controversial. But now people jump. It will be, I guarantee you, he could do that. Rich, if you're watching, go do that right now. Go make a list and tweet it out. I guarantee you by Tuesday, there will be like 5,000 retweets and 10,000 likes and it's probably 500 or 1,000 comments, responses to that tweet, because what that does is it presents an opportunity for guys to declare allegiance. And that's what simping really is. It's a declaration of allegiance. So if Rich puts that thing, standards, like here's what women should do for men, that is sin. That is heresy in a gynosexual social order. Men are only to ever qualify for women. Women never have to do a damn thing to qualify for a guy. They don't have to be thin. They don't have to cook. They don't have to do anything for you. That is the prime directive of feminism. Never do anything for the express pleasure of a man. Unless that guy, and then what the first thing out of their mouths is going to be, well, look at you, Mr. Bald Guy. Look at you. You look like you're a little bit overweight. But you have a little wee-wee, right? That will be the first thing out. Like, it will be these qualifications for that guy. And it'll always be like, trying to, and again, typical stupid egoistic tropes. Like, I bet you have fragile ego. Who hurt you? You're threatened by a powerful woman. Blah, 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 blah. Same boilerplate that's been around since like the mid 70s. Exactly. That literally verbatim, the same words that were used back in the 70s. Oh, it's macho. I bet you have a little beep. I bet you have a little dick, right? Oh, what, are you afraid of a woman? And you know what? You know where those come from? Not from women. They come from guys. They come from guys who see this as an opportunity. Those guys, white knights, simps, they wait. That is like ringing the dinner bell, man. It is ringing the dinner bell for these guys to come in and go, a guy had standards for a woman. Hey, guys, let's go. And you have this big brigade of simps comes in. Hey, leave her alone. There's not even any woman to leave alone. He's just talking about like what women should be able to do. Like, ladies, you do your hair nice. Keep it a natural color. Don't have tattoos. Oh, man. Remember when he said that? Remember, like, a women with tattoos are low quality or a red flag. There are a few women come out of the woodwork. Though, well, how dare you? I've got tattoos. I'm a nice girl. I'm a quality woman. A few of them will come out. But I would say like 90%, by and large, the greatest critics will be other men because they have been taught to declare allegiance and they look for opportunities to do exactly that. So when Rollo Tomassi says, women should do X, Y, and Z. Or when I write a full essay for women, I have written a essay called An Essay for Women, what women can do to sort of deprogram themselves from their own kind of blue pill, which is really gynocentrism and the feminine imperative. Well, feminism, for a lack of a better term. I see feminism as sort of like the religious arm or the active arm of gynocentrism or the feminine imperative. So, disabuse yourself of the, unlearn the things that you've learned, ladies. If I say that, oh my God, it's not ladies. Ladies will go, yeah, I never thought of it that way. Or I'll get emails from women who go, thank you for saying that. Or I'll get appreciative stuff. But if you go and look in the comments, or you look at people who go and like tweet the link to that essay, it's men, it's simps, because they see that as like a fresh kill. It's like their women's studies teachers taught them, okay, if a guy says this, you jump on him. Now, maybe that never happened, but they learned that somewhere along the way from the time they were 5 years old to when a guy says these things, go hit him, punch him. It's okay to hit him if you do that. If a guy even raises his voice to a woman, if a guy, God forbid, a guy grabs a woman or does anything physical, you have permission to shoot that guy. And don't think I'm joking, because I'm not. Because even just the suspicion, this is not in this country. Well, maybe it is in this country too, but just the suspicion, just the impression, the perception that a guy might in any way be violent or has a potential to, he's raising his voice to her. Right? That, like, every dude with 10 guys within earshot will be all over that dude. In India, just a woman saying, he raped me. Doesn't matter if it was true or not. There's 10 guys or 100 guys who will go and kill that guy. They will put knives through his heart just because she said that. It could be true. It might not be true. But every one of those guys has been trained and conditioned from the time they were little kids. I need to respect women. You got to respect women. That's another issue I have on here too. But it's mostly guys wanting to declare allegiance. I have been programmed. I have been conditioned. Ladies, I am the one who's going to protect you from these horrible men. We need to police them. And so, like I was saying before, in a male space where women come into it, women become the overseers in the locker room to make sure that those guys who are there in the locker, in that male space, are thinking correctly. And what happens is the beta chumps, the simps, the white knights, the whatever you want to call them, in that male space, because they want to be ingratiated with the women who are now in that space, they adopt that thinking and they take over the oversight for them. So this happens, like, I'm using this on like sort of an atomized scale, like in a male space, but think about the global sexual marketplace. That is a male space as well. Or it's a space where guys and women are coming together, and guys look for opportunities to declare allegiance, but also to police the thought of other guys so that they think just like they do about women's empowerment, feminism, gynocentrism. Women should be astronauts, right? And they take any opportunity to defeat evil, because they think that by saving the damsel, whether she wanted it or not, from this beast who is saying women shouldn't have the right to vote, or women shouldn't be this, or maybe men and women are different. Just even simple, stupid, like obvious things like men and women are different. We think different. We have different biologies, blah, blah, blah. Just say that, you lose your job at Google because that male space, or that whatever that American corporate space is, it's no longer women in male space. It's men who have been assimilated by gynocentrism, who are the ones policing the thoughts of other guys. That's a very effective social convention too. And it's a convention you can make a lot of money off of if you're one of the sort of economic elites, right? So that's that aspect. Number 4 here I have is what simping also does is it confirms devotion and investment in that blue pill beta game. It's very much what I was talking about identity crisis. It's like I'm on team woman. So by being a simp, by even making a financial investment in an OnlyFans girl, right? Not only are you declaring for team woman, it becomes sort of an act of devotion to the sisterhood, right? To gynocentrism, to the feminine imperative. Here's $4,000 for you. I want you to feel like I would do anything for you. That's an act of devotion. That's an act of worship. How much money, what's funny is, like, you can go and, like, if I were to go to church and I were to give 10% of like what I make off of just this live stream, and I'm tithing, right? 10%. Maybe I made $100 today. Now here's $10. People will go, what the hell's wrong with you? Why would you give to a child? Why? It's the man in the sky. I can't believe you do something like that. And the same guys are horking out $4,000 for a woman in the sky, right? A woman they never meet, right? It could be a guy for all they know, who's probably stage managed, digitally pimped by another guy. That's okay, but if you give 10% to your church, that's not okay. It's an act of worship, right? It's tithing. You're tithing to the goddess. And you're tithing a lot more to the goddess than you would in any other instance, I would think, right? I mean, unless you're giving juniors and, college fund to Joel Osteen or something like that. I don't know, but like it's the goddess. It's a goddess movement. I write about that in book 4. There's actually a full chapter dedicated to the goddess movement. And that's an act of worship. It's an act of devotion to the feminine imperative, because you think by doing so, it will solve your reproductive problems. Okay. Last but not least is the nice guy situation. Okay. So female friends, I told you I get to this, so I'm going to do it right now. There's the nice guys. Nice guys don't exist anymore. Okay. Like guys, like real, even if you are genuinely really a nice guy, you're invisible. You're truly invisible right now. If you do things for the sake of being nice, if you do things out of the goodness of your heart or your altruism, right? Women don't believe it. And men don't believe it either. So say, hey man, maybe I really wanted to help. Maybe I just really wanted to do this. And then what happens is either that guy gets taken advantage of because a woman goes, oh, a sucker. Oh, kick down $4,000 for me, whatever. Like even if you want to be a nice guy, there's always some kind of, attachment to it. I think Chris Rock talked about that too. Like Chris, in one of his comedy skits, he was talking about like, how guys are always offering dick, right? Here, let me help you with those groceries. How about some dick? that whole thing. There's always something attached to it. And women, particularly in this social and in the digital age, it's easier to see that now. And guys are still ready to do it because serviceability is a sexual strategy for men, for beta men, mostly. Maybe for guys who have a blue pill mindset for sure. But for beta men, it's usually like, what was it? About 2 years ago, maybe it was 2018, winter of 2018 or 2017, 2018. There were women on Tinder who were saying, hey, I'd really like a guy to come and shovel the snow off my car so I can get to work. And literally within a half an hour of posting that, there's a dude, and there's like probably 2 dudes like fighting each other for the honor of like shoveling the snow off of this woman's car so she can drive to her HR job in Buffalo, something like that. But guys will, when women need a guy to be serviceable, there are guys who know nothing else but transaction. And so ingrained is that you'll have old men who are suffering from Alzheimer's who will still think that they can get with the ladies in the assisted living facility based on, I'm going to go do your gardening for you. I don't know your name. I don't know my name. I don't know my kid's name, but I'll do that because that's a subroutine that's been planted. That transactional sex subroutine has been planted in my head from the time I was little to say, well, if I'm going to get in her good graces, I got to do something for her. It's called the savior schema. That's another chapter in book 1. I believe I put that in there. Yeah. Savior schema, which is if I save you, you owe me sex. If I save you, if I'm serviceable, and I mean that's a stupid, extreme illustration, but that's the basis of it. If I do something for you, you give me sex, or you give me love, you give me intimacy, you give me something. It's this reciprocal thing. Humans aren't the only animals that do this, by the way, too. Reciprocation is something that most higher order mammals do. Certainly primates, but like other animals will do it as well. Even dogs will do it. You do something like dogs have, and I can speak from experience, dogs have a sense of like fairness. Like if you have 2 dogs, or God forbid you have like 3 or 4 like me, and you give one dog a treat, you don't give the rest of them, they're like, and you can tell the behavior changes, right? They're, what the hell, man? What the hell's my treat, man? They'll do that. Cats will do the same thing. If there's all the cats are a little bit more independent, but animals do that. They have a sense of fairness. They'll even share, like monkeys will share, even like macaque monkeys. If one monkey gets a treat and the other one doesn't, and they're in a cage, they don't want to rip it out and give it to his bro. There's that sense of fairness or sense of justice kind of thing. Or what's funny is if one, I've done experiments, I've seen experiments for this, and this is in like not just human reciprocation, but it's just like sort of animal kind, like I don't want to say altruism, but it's like the dynamic of reciprocation, or a sense of fairness, justice kind of thing. They'll have like the researchers, and this is cruel, but it's funny, is they'll give one monkey a rock and they'll give the other monkey a grape. And the one with the rock is just like, what the hell is this rock? And the monkey with the grape is eating it. And if the monkey that's eating the grape, that keeps getting the grape, feels bad, feels guilty, feels, damn, dude, sorry, here, have a grape, man. I got plenty, kind of thing. And there's this sort of back and forth. But usually what happens is there is sort of this reciprocal arrangement that goes along with that. If I do something for you, if I give you a gift, there should be something that you give in return. Or even if you don't, if you say, no, it's cool, dude, I just want to give you this gift, here you go. Especially if you give it to a woman, women automatically think, God forbid, you go and you buy a dinner for them. Well, men are never owed sex. Yeah, especially now. But the reason why they get upset about that, or that even is a thought in their head to start with, is because they have reciprocal nature. We have that's part of our, I would say that's part, I don't say it's instinct. It may be instinct. Certainly part of our mental firmware, our evolved mental firmware is reciprocation and sense of fairness, I think. Maybe sociopaths don't have that sense. Maybe pathological liars don't have that sense, or maybe less so. But by and large, that we do. But what that does is that has this kind of tit for tat thing, right? What quid pro quo. And so I want to kind of get into this a little bit because I'm going to talk about female friends for a second here. I'm going to do a full episode on this. I think I decided I'm going to do one only because I'm coming up on the 2-hour mark right now, and I still need to get into the economic side of things. And I want to finish up with the rest of your super chats here. But I do need to say this, is that when it comes to female friends, that is prime breeding ground for simps. That's where the simps will show up. And in the digital age, becoming a beta orbiter has never been easier. Now, when women were in, like, say, the age of like the 80s or the 90s, even 70s, whatever, having a sort of a roster or a bullpen, I think is what we called it. Having a bullpen of beta orbiters was a little bit more difficult to maintain because generally those beta orbiters, if they didn't know each other, it was only because, one, they didn't live in the same vicinity, or else it was like they were phone friends, right? They were the emotional tampons. For the most part, men and women cannot be friends. And like, people will fight me on that. That you want to talk about another sort of like dog whistle for simps? That's one of them. Men and women can't be friends. What? I can't believe that. Oh, here's my opportunity. You're a horrible misogynist. I'd have so many girlfriends. Until you get intimate with one woman and she's into you and she doesn't want you to have, women believe in platonic friendships between men and women until they have a boyfriend. If that was the case, women would never say, oh, I have a boyfriend. They wouldn't give you the boyfriend disclaimer when you're trying to chat them up. When you're running game, when you're sarging women, there's what's known as, and this is in PUA circles, there's what's known as the boyfriend disclaimer, which of course PUA's found a way around with the boyfriend destroyer routine, and ask me about that sometime. But the boyfriend disclaimer is you're having a conversation with a girl. Maybe you just met her. Maybe you're interested in her. She picks up on the fact that you are interested in her. And then somewhere casually into the conversation, she slips, oh, my boyfriend and I went to blah, blah, blah. Or I have a boyfriend. Sometimes it's casual. Sometimes it's just kind of like, incidental. Insert the word boyfriend into the conversation here so he doesn't get the wrong idea. Or else wait until the guy expresses direct interest and then drop the boyfriend disclaimer. There's two ways to get the boyfriend disclaimer. The boyfriend disclaimer would not exist if men and women could be friends, at least on the same level of parity as men can be friends with men and women can be friends with women. Now I'm going to throw one more out you. This is straight out of the Rational Male. Here's your Rational Male quote for the day. Women have boyfriends and girlfriends. And if you're not banging her, you're her girlfriend. And guys hate it when, who hates that more? Not women don't hate that, but I've never had a woman criticize me for that quote. I've had tons of guys criticize me for that quote. Because they want to believe that friendship and rapport and comfort is the way to get into a woman's good graces, and therefore as a means to sexual reproduction. Well, to get after it, to have sex, and then maybe reproduce. Who knows? Because most simps, most blue pill guys who have been conditioned by the blue pill, and I'm not talking just even in the 2000s, I'm talking about my generation, we're taught that the best way to get a girlfriend is not sexual anxiety, not urgency, not sexual tension. Those are elements that are absolutely necessary in sexual attraction and sexual arousal. But since the 70s, since we decided that it's not what's on the outside that matters, it's what's on the inside. Remember when Jada Pinkett Smith, it's all about love. No, it's not. That you weren't banging Alcina, whatever, because of that, because of love. If he'd have been 50 pounds overweight and a sandwich artist at Subway, you would not have it's all about love. No, it's not. But we've been taught that it is. And we've been taught that it's what's on the inside that counts for a long time. Now, I'm not saying that the inside, your character and your integrity and your person and everything, like who you are, isn't important. It is. It is once you got past the sexual urgency part, right? It is once a woman has like actual, you've got past the arousal stages. And you have to know, if I'm going to talk about friendship, you have to know how like a natural sort of arousal happens, and then attraction, and then sort of a pair bonding happens. There's a flow to it. And this is something that what used to be taught by the early PUAs. I don't think so much now, but it is the idea that, and again, like I said, I believe this is that you should go from like comfort and familiarity, then you go into sex, is absolutely backwards, 100% backwards. Even mystery method would say the same thing. It's usually attraction, comfort, and then seduction. That's mystery method. ASC. Yeah. So it's that's usually how it happens. I've never really been a proponent of too much rapport, too much comfort, too much familiarity, because familiarity breeds contempt, right? But it also makes once you get into that, most guys gross out on comfort. They gross out on familiarity. They want to be her brother. And women will say that. They're like, I don't see you as a lover. I don't think of you that way. I think of you as a brother. When you get to that point, what she's saying is, I see sex with you to be incest. Literally, that's what it means. Like the thought of having sex with you is like having sex with my brother. And you got to that, you next eject, you're done. Just move on to the next one. Because if you've already got into that sort of, we're like brother and sister. And again, this is another example that I see of simps. Guys who will be on Instagram with a girl, with my best friend today, right? And they're like with their best friend, and they got their arm around them, and it's like, and then the girl will make sure to put something in the tweet or something in the Instagram message that says, yeah, we're really great friends, just friends for life, just friends. Let's just LJBF. Let's just be friends. And to make damn sure that anybody seeing that picture that's on his Instagram that he tagged her in, like the reason he's doing that, of course, is mate guarding, but women know that instinctively. Women know mate guarding. Like they know mate guarding before guys know mate guarding. So when, and in the digital age, doing something like that on Instagram or whatever social media platform you want to put it on, when a guy does that, what he's doing is saying, this is, it's like peeing on the girl so all the other competitive rivals will smell, oh, this is somebody else's woman. I'm going, I got to go find something. That's what it really is. And women know that. And so they have to go and find some ways to sort of either, can you take that down? Or they'll say, oh yeah, we're just swell chums. We're just pals. That's simping. It's simping to do that when when you believe that comfort. You want to know what defines a simp is believing that comfort is the key to sexual success. Thinking that you're going to have a better relationship because we started as friends and then we became lovers. Those are not the good relationships. The good relationships are the ones where you can't keep your hands off each other, and then you become familiar and comfortable with each other. It starts with sexual urgency. It starts with anxiety. It's a competition anxiety for sure. It starts with sexual tension. That's why they call it sexual tension. Most guys, the 80% of beta guys, hate that. They're uncomfortable with it because there's so much uncertainty. They don't know that they're going to get there. They don't know what to do. You want to know why John and Troy and Myron are so good. You want to know why John from Modern Life Dating can do like what he does with body language mastery? It's because guys are uncomfortable in that. They've never become comfortable in that. All these guys who are like throwing money at women on OnlyFans, if you put them in front of an actual girl, they would just fall all over themselves. They wouldn't know what to do because they never had any occasion to learn those skills, the body language or the social skills or anything else. So you can criticize me all day long. Oh, you shouldn't hang out with that guy. He's like Sergeant Slaughter. He's like a professional wrestler. What, has he got a feather boa on? What's wrong with that guy? Yeah, well, he's teaching these guys who would otherwise never have the occasion to learn how to even become, like, it's not even so much the tactics. It's becoming comfortable with it. It's becoming like, Keno, God forbid, like, can I touch her? Like that kind of stuff. And this generation really kind of like the one before, I guess millennials a little bit, really don't have any experience with that, or they don't, let's just say that they're uncomfortable with it. So they think that comfort and rapport is the way to go. And usually what happens is in a proper flow and proper human interaction with heterosexual, maybe even homosexual, I don't know, but in a heterosexual relationship, it's sexual urgency. It's that person is so hot, I want to get with them. Okay, what's your name? Oh, the hell yes girl, right? You want to go on a date? Hell yes, I do. That kind of stuff. And it's not like I'm saying, well, women have to be easy. I'm just saying that there has to be that genuine desire. Can't negotiate it. There has to be genuine arousal. And then from there, once you get past that, once you get to the sexual urgency part, then you create rapport. Then you create seduction. Then you create comfort afterwards. When women say, oh, I have to be comfortable to have sex with you, you do think that she has to be comfortable with a guy in the foam cannon party in Cancun on spring break? Look at women's Instagrams today. Do you think that they have to be comfortable to take their clothes off at a rave? Do you think they have to be comfortable to go on a slut walk? Do you think they have to be comfortable with? No, they don't. They want sexual urge. They want indignation. They want a thrill. They want excitement. They want exhilaration. They want a break from their boring ass lives on this side of the damn computer. And so when guys can offer that to them and say, you want to know why, and then, again, I'm getting into the nuts and bolts of PUA here, but like want to know why women make that emotional connection or that emotional association with you, and why that's so compelling for women is because it breaks that cycle. You're not trying to be safe and comfortable. You're the dangerous guy. You're the guy she will break rules for instead of make rules for. If a woman is making rules for you and you're, okay, well, she's got to be more comfortable. So how do I make her more comfortable? Well, you can do this. You can take me to dinner. You can pay for it. You can do this. You can do that. You can go shovel the snow off my car. You can do all that stuff. Excuse me. If she's making rules for you, women don't want to have sex with guys that they can make rules for, that guys will obey, because alphas wouldn't do that. They've got other girls on the roster. Alphas don't worry about rules. And I'm not saying, oh, well, they push passion. They just go and they just take what they want from women. No, they don't bother with you because they got 4 other girls that are, productive girls, sexually speaking, that would love to get with them on the same weekend. So women instinctively pick up on the behavioral manifestations of alpha males and what it is that they're doing. And then they go, okay, I can't make rules for that guy. That guy his time is valuable. His time, other women want to get with this guy. Even if he's just they don't know it. He acts and manifests the behavior of a guy who has options, who have other women that are available to him. That was really the basis of PUA. Again, doing the end run around the hypergamous filter. Now, it helps if you're actually that guy. It helps if you're actually the dude that has all those, you're authentically an alpha male. You authentically have all of the qualities and the values and the things that make her hot, as well as make her want to be with you. But there's the process. And so in that process, if you become her friend, she's going to see you as a friend. Most guys today, because they believe the idea that they should identify with the feminine, they relate with women as women. So if you've learned your entire life that you should cater your personality, you should become more like a woman, get in touch with your feminine side, get in touch with your emotions, express yourself emotionally. What do women do? That's exactly what they do. That's what I keep saying is the female correct society. we let's teach all our little boys that they're bad boys, but they can be good humans if they just act more like girls. And so what happens is those guys start to relate. The only frame of reference that they ever have for women is to relate to them and talk to them as if they're their girlfriends. So I'm not being like when I say that, women have boyfriends and girlfriends, and if you're not banging her, then you're her girlfriend. If you think you're a friend with a girl, like ask yourself, am I relating to her as a man would, or am I relating to her as I think a woman would like to be related to from another girlfriend? That's where that comes from. I'm not being a dick. I'm not like saying, oh, if you're not banging her, then it's not. That's not what I mean. Women, when you relate to them as women covertly communicate when they're talking to to their girlfriends, they expect certain things from those girlfriends, their same-sex friendships. Because the only way we can have any sort of frame of reference for an intersexual friendship is we can make comparisons to our same-sex friendships. So if a guy is relating to a guy, we're going to relate to him differently. We're going to talk to him differently. We're going to do things, right? We have an occasion, maybe we're working on a project, maybe we have shared interests, whatever. My friends in my sort of extended tribes, we all have something that we share in common. Music, games, whatever it is. We form tribes online all the time based on those shared interests. Women do the same thing, but when we're together as friends, we're relating as men and men or women and women. And when you put men and women together and you say, okay, we're going to have a platonic friendship, guys will always default to a woman's form of communication. Women will never come over to them. Women will never want to, hey, can I just be your friend? No, it's usually when women and men become friends, it's either a friendship of acquaintance, or it's a guy who failed in his attempt to what's called jumping ladders, which is he tried to go from the friends ladder to the intimate ladder, to getting this is basic ladder theory. I have never talked about ladder theory on this show. Ladder theory is this is a very ancient PUA secret, or ancient PUA theory, which is that women have two ladders, and there's guys on various steps of that ladder. So if you're on the friendship ladder, you can be at the top of the friendship ladder and you're like her best friend, or you can be at the bottom and maybe you're just an acquaintance kind of thing. Or there's girls who have like guys who are like sort of they're the guys that they're the lover ladder, I guess, or their intimate ladder. There's guys that they really want to get with at the top of the ladder, and then maybe that's their boyfriend, or maybe that's the guy that's their friend with benefits. And then there's other guys on the ladder. So there's different like statuses. Now, granted, this is old school, so maybe this needs a little revisioning. But what happens is the guys on the friendship ladder try to make a ladder jump, and they try to jump over to the intimacy ladder, thinking that they're going to be on the intimate one. And usually when you have like friends, like the let's just be friends, it's the guy who tried to make the ladder jump, the guy who tried to go from being friend to being lover. And she's like, I think of you as a brother. You can go back to the friendship ladder with you, and maybe you drop down, maybe you don't, I don't know. But what happens is, because guys believe in identifying with the feminine, they think that they just didn't merit it yet. Oh, okay, I wasn't a good enough friend. Oh, I wasn't serviceable enough. Oh, you mean there's a chance, right? So it's this idea, like when women put you into the friend zone, I've said this before, I don't really believe that there is such a thing as a friend zone. And I know that's going to sound kind of like a radical thing. Yes, guys get put into sort of this perpetual like purgatory of friendship with women. But when we talk about the friend zone, I usually talk about the friend zone in terms of it's a guy who still believes. It's really more, I think, when you get put in the friend zone, it's not about the woman. The woman is doing that because she wants to avoid the uncomfortableness of having to actually give you an outright rejection. No woman on planet Earth wants to think that there's some guy somewhere around the world that doesn't like them. Because remember, attention is the coin of the Roman gold world. So a beta orbiter, even as low as your attention is really valued, it's still valued somewhat. It's valued more than a guy who hates your guts. And when a guy says, no, I don't want to be your friend, after let's just be friends, no, I don't want to be your friend. I got enough friends. I see where this is going. Look, I don't think of you as a friend. I really want to get with you, but it's cool. Whatever. Good. As polite and as diplomatic as you can make that, women will lose their minds when you do that. When you say, no, I don't really want to be your friend. Sorry, and you delete them. Like women will complain about guys ghosting them, but I think that worse than ghosting is a guy who actually says, Okay, no, it's cool. No, we're not friends, but whatever. I'm not, because they think in binary terms, right? Well, if I'm not your friend, then I must be your enemy. No, just good. I don't want to. I don't want to hang out with you. I want to get after it with you. I want to have sex with you. I want to be more than a friend to you. And if I can't be that, then I've got Sally and Jennifer and Susie over here that whatever, maybe they're on my roster or whatever. I'm not stupid. I'm not going to sit around and give you free attention because you want to play friends. You want me to think you're invisible, right? You're my invisible friend. I'm not going to do that. I have more respect for myself. And what happens is when a guy does that, women are expecting you to go, oh yeah, sure, we can be friends, and just sort of like blow it off and never talk to you again. Or maybe like, what do you do with your friends, right? What do you do with your girl? What do you do with your guy friends? It's a lot different than what you do with a girlfriend. Usually guys, when they have girlfriends, they're acquaintances. They're part of a social circle. That's when it gets awkward, when you like try to get into a relationship or you try to jump ladders, like I said, with a woman that's in your social circle and she rejects you. And then you have to go back to still kind of pretending to be your friend because you don't want to, like, you're still like your friends, right? In your social circle. So men and women cannot be friends, but they can, and people hate that because they want to say it's all binary, but there's qualifications to that. That's a contextual thing. So guys who accept that tend to be simps. Guys who accept a let's just be friends rejection, because that's what it is. When a woman says, let's be friends, puts you in the friend zone, you've been rejected, my friend. You are rejected. And I think women think it blunts the blow. I don't know how popular it is anymore. It used to be a thing. I have about 3 different posts on the let's just be friends rejection. And there's a really great song that I have a video of. I can't remember the guy's name. It was Adam something or other, but it's a really great song called LJBF. It's really funny. Maybe I'll link it later in the description later on, but it's really good thing, or good music. But what's funny is women will lose their minds over that because they expect you to accept the let's just be friends thing, because what it does is it takes the burden of rejection off of that girl and puts it onto you. No, can we just be friends? What that's saying is, I'm rejecting you, but I want you to still like be cool with me. I want you to still keep the attention and all the other crap that you were doing prior to you trying to get after it with me. Can't we just be friends? No. And you will see women will try. I've had guys that I've counseled before who did exactly that. I told her, I said, just tell her you got enough friends. Tell her you don't think of her as a friend. And I don't want to play games. I'm honest enough with myself that I'm not going to pretend to be your friend when I know I want to be something more than that. So it's all good. Don't worry. We're fine. We're cool. See you around. And to do that, like, women will like bend over backwards to try. Oh, I'm sorry. I want to be friend. Because what happens is when you do that, you put the onus back on her, which is where it belongs in the first damn place. Women, if you're going to reject a guy, do it outright. Don't fuss around. Let's play friends. Don't put him in the friend zone. I understand. You got more than enough beta orbiters online and on social media. You don't have to do that to a guy in real life. So there you go. There's your friends thing. All right. I want to talk lastly here about the economic impact of simping, because as I was saying before, the first question I got out of this, and I will get to super chats here. The first question I got here was, of the day was, is it nature or nurture for guys? And I have talked about the nature side of things, a little bit about the nurture too, because it's a little bit of social conditioning, of course. But the economic impact of simping cannot be ignored right now, because there is, and the reason I called this episode the economy of simping is because there is an economy. When a guy's throwing $4,000 at a girl he never has known in his life because he wants her to think that he'd do anything for her, that doesn't go unnoticed by people who want to exploit that system or exploit that insecurity. Guys will say this all the time. They will say, well, those PUIs or that Rollo, man, he's just stoking those guys' insecurities because he's selling something. What, a book that tells you to get the hell out of that, teaches you how to stop simping? Is that what it is? Okay, well, maybe I'm helping you by selling you a cure. Got me. Sorry. For the lowest price that Amazon will allow me to sell it. But here's the thing, and I understand, like, guys think everybody thinks it's a grift, but the grift is this, is like, well, what would you rather do? Spend $9.99 or $11.99 on a book, or spend $4,000 on a girl a month, per month? Would you rather see another Bella Thorne go and grab the bag of $2 million in 36 hours because the world is full of simps? Or would you rather, pay for preventive medicine for $13.99, right? So yeah, there's a grift to it. There's always, everything's a grift, man. Don't even, McDonald's, go to Taco Bell. I'll go to Taco Bell. I'll say, you know what? You sons of bitches are grifters. That's what they're doing, right? That's their thing. Like, I really like high fatty food with cheese on it. Okay, well, I guess that's a grift. You're playing on my insecurities as my hunger. I evolved to really like that food. How dare you? You have to buy it, man. You don't have to show up. But the thing is this, is that in an economic sense, there are, say, economic forces, not some evil cabal, not the evil Jews, whatever. But there are businesses that are built up around the fact that guys are simps. You want to know why OnlyFans is a multi-bazillion, probably got to be $1 billion by now, a multi-zillion dollar juggernaut, within a year? Because guys are simps, because that's reliable. That framework, it's predictable. Predictable that 80% of guys are going to be beta males. That's pretty predictable. How can we make some money off of that? Oh, okay. Let's control the market. Let's find a way to create a monopoly out of this. Let's find a way to build a wall around the sexual marketplace. And that's never been easier to do than in the digital age, in a global sexual marketplace. So hear me out on this while I sort of break this down a little bit. And I know I saw some guys who were mentioning sort of the misery economy and all that stuff. Yes, I'm familiar with that. I was actually one of the reasons I titled that today. So here's the deal. Guys being miserable, guys commiserating together, having a platform to get together and commiserate is profitable. You can make money off of it. You can sell guys jazzercise, right? I joke about that, like the doom pill economy. There has been no more perfect product. And God, I should actually hit these guys up and be an affiliate marketer for jazzercise as often as I mention these dudes. But jazzercise is this little plastic thing you put in your mouth and you do like this, and it's like a workout. Like it's like part of your gym workout where it will like develop your jaw muscles or whatever. And really, you're just going to turn to like this big old like kind of chip. I don't know that it'll do anything for your jawline, but it will certainly build up the muscles, right? At least that's what it's suggested to do. That's part of the economy, right? That's part of that insecurity. Oh, if I look better, I got to get facial surgery. I can't afford it. Jazzercise, $29.99. Oh, cool. Give it. Or sex dolls or fleshlights or whatever. Those are easy ones to come up with, right? Like, how do you solve that reproductive problem? Well, wouldn't it be great? How awesome would it be if you had a company, or how many companies can be developed around the idea of, hey, we've got the solution to your reproductive problem, guys. There's never been as many jokers and simps and screw-offs in the world with some money than now. So let me eHarmony was the first one that did that. And this was back in the early 2000s. They sold the idea, like eHarmony was before there was Match, before there was plenty of cows, plenty of fish, plenty of whales. Before there was Match.com, Tinder, there was eHarmony, run by good evangelical Christians, I hear too. But their whole marketing campaign was, remember that white-haired doctor dude? We'll help you find your soulmate. Yeah. Well, maybe it appealed to women too. They're doing the same thing. Remember that in the sexual marketplace, it's not just simps. It's not just that. Women need it too. You want to know why a guy like Matt Hussey makes money? If you don't know who Matt Hussey is, he is I won't say he's not PUA. Mark Manson, would be another one. Evan Mark Katz, these guys, their prime demographic isn't the red pill, and it's not guys, although ostensibly they'd like it to be guys, but it's women. What they do is they're kind of about Mark Manson. Mark Manson's now married, but Matt Hussey's easy to pick on. Let's beat up on Matt today. Matt has made I don't know if I wonder how much he's worth. Somebody got to tell me how much Matt Hussey is worth. he's made quite a good living, let's just say, off of women's insecurities about ever finding a guy later on in life. And he's a good looking dude, right? No homo, right? He's a good looking dude. And women like that, and they pick up on that, and they go, oh, he's going to teach guys to be better guys so that we'll find husbands. I had to get divorced, but how come men are so horrible, Matt? How? And they're just looking at him like all doe-eyed and everything. And they love him because his message is, I'll teach guys to be better dudes for these ladies right here and to appreciate, again, simping. Matt Hussey has made a living off of simping. A very handsome living off of simping too. Well, women are great. Whether or not he believes it, I don't know. But let's just say his grift is selling security to women. Don't worry, ladies, I'll make these guys better guys. And if I do that, then you can pay me X amount of dollars and I'll teach you how these guys should be treating you. I'll teach them to love you. I'll teach you to sort of, how you can get connected with them. Give me a little bit of money on the side. Whatever. I don't know. Whatever his blog is, whatever his books are, whatever his programs are. It's essentially selling to insecurities. The same thing happens with guys. Sell to simps. OnlyFans is a bazillion-dollar industry because guys, I'm never going to get laid. We're never going to score. No. Well, Beavis and Butthead, right? We're never going to score. We're never going to score. Shut up. So when we're talking about this in an economic sense, what's happened here is we've gone from a localized sexual marketplace to a globalized sexual marketplace. And remember, when I say sexual marketplace, I mean that. It is a market. It's a market in the sense that, you're a commodity. Women are a commodity. You're a commodity. You have money. There's money that's involved in that. It is an actual market. We want to talk about globalization. It's not just economics. It's not just money that's globalizing. It's not just social, societies and nationalities that are globalizing, commercial interests. It's the sexual marketplace. And along with that come other market interests that go along with that. So it is in the interest of market control that you stay discontent as a guy. Simping is good business. That's really good business. As long as you keep doing that, as long as you keep throwing money away, as long as you like MGTOW, you want to know another reason why I think MGTOW, now you can make money off of MGTOW too, because it's sort of like creating this sort of monopoly around what used to be a natural order. So even MGTOW who walk away from stuff, who want to say, oh, I'm not going to have anything to do with women. There's guys like who want to use your very popular tag on YouTube, on social media and everything, just slap MGTOW onto Coach Jerkoff, Coach whoever, and throw MGTOW on there. And suddenly you have some sort of, gravitas with these guys, and you're making money off of that because guys think that, oh, well, they're part of the tribe. It's very much tribalism. But more than anything else is that simp nature makes for very predictable consumers. So getting back to the simp thing, it's not just simping here, but I mean, like what's happened is we have so distorted and in 50 short, like just a little over 50 years. I usually peg it at since the sexual revolution, but in, let's just say 50, rounded off 50 short years, we have fundamentally changed the nature of human reproduction. We're talking about poly now, right? People like oh man, F you guys. All these guys say, oh, Rollo, poly will never be mainstream. Get the out of here. It is absolutely mainstream. It is exactly to the letter what I said it would be. I said, this is where we're going. This is where poly's going to be the next thing. Because that is a sexual strategy that seems logical to simps, right? Now, guys will say, well, it doesn't have, poly's not just about like one woman and four loser gamer dorks that are, trying to impregnate her. It's also about the one guy who has like 2 wives or 3 wives. Poly could be, no, man, that's polygyny. That's been around forever. That's been around. Muslim culture, Abu Americans got 3 wives and probably working on a 4th. You can have up to 4 wives. Mormons used to be able to do the same thing. Other culture, even Old Testament Jewish, used to have Father Abraham. Sarah, another wife, and I don't know how many concubines he had. What did it say that, like, was it King Solomon had like 3,000 concubines? I again, in my research here for book 4. So, polygamy. Yeah, that was very much something that was, and it worked. It was a very effective reproductive strategy for men and for women who could get with a powerful guy who could afford to have that many women and concubines and own land. And, that kind of stuff was reserved for powerful alpha men, like chieftains of tribal chieftains and dynastic emperors and kings, and had a mistress and whatever, and God knows how many other girls. So yeah, poly as in polygamy, many women, one man. Yeah, that's been around forever. Poly as the way of polyamory, or what is it? Alternative relationship strategies. What that is, that's guys who are so desperate that they'll go, you know what? I know she's a 4, and I'm being generous. I know she's a 4, but I don't care if there's 5 other guys that want to get with her. It's either jerking off to online porn, or I can have a live fat girl right here. I think I want to try that. Or she says she loves me, but she loves them too, and she has feelings for all of us. Hey, leave her alone. Hey, can't we all get along? And it's funny is even in those relationships, it's the guy who's the most alpha amongst that sort of harem of guys that impregnates her, and then probably will end up having a monogamous relationship with her later on. Poly is exactly what I predicted it would be. And why? Because it seems like an alternate mating strategy for beta males, for guys who otherwise would never have a chance. Most polyamory, or guys who are like get off on cuckolding, on their own cuckolding, that I'm so secure in my relationship that I'll let some other guy just, my bull will come over and rail my wife or rail my girlfriend or whatever. But I'm cool with that, because I could go out and I could go out and do it myself if I want to. Well, that's not a relationship, first of all. And then second of all, it's like, why would you entertain them? Why would you simply just not be, unattached, date non-exclusively? Why would you not just spin plates at that point instead of pretend? Because they can't, because there's not it's difficult. It's inconvenient. Women can facilitate poly way better than guys can, but we don't talk about that. But that's the new thing. That's the marketing now. So what happens is you have market forces, economic forces that step in and say, okay, well, you guys have made a horrible, of course, it's market forces that made the horrible mess of what used to be natural evolutionary reproduction. But now we've got hormonal birth control. Now we've got gynocentrism. Now we have the sexual revolution. Now we have on-demand abortion. Now we have no-fault divorce. Now we have switched from a marriage model of raising children to a child support model of raising children. Now we have all this great stuff, and you've made such a mess. And of course, I blame it on human society when it's actually economic interests that do most of this. And they go, oh, we have such a mess of the evolved natural way of meeting people. Now we have to meet people online. Now we meet them on Tinder. Now we meet them on, men and women don't have anything to do with each other in the first place. They no longer have any interest in dating. So tell you what, boys, we're going to step in and we're going to offer you a solution, an economic market-based solution on how you can solve your reproductive problems according to whatever your interests are and whatever your needs are. So now we replace the evolved, the previous evolved old order way of men and women meeting each other. Maybe you met in church, maybe you met through family, maybe you met at school, usually at school, right? Maybe you met in a club, maybe you met live in person. But now we don't do that anymore. Now you got to meet on Instagram. Don't worry, we'll give you this premium social media thing and you'll meet more women. That's how they work. That's how they run. I think was it John was telling me, like, they have on Match.com or on maybe it's on Tinder, like they rank you. It's almost like it's like if you're a prize fighter, if you're like in a martial arts or something, you have to be ranked with somebody who's about your same level. So it's a challenge, right? Well, if you got a woman who's a 10, you don't want to give her a bunch of guys who are 6s all the time to say, oh, here's the guys we have suggested for you. Here's the guys we're going to let you see. No, it's in their interests to hold that back. It's in market interests to control your access to solving your reproductive problem. And companies make a handsome amount of money. I know I mentioned Matt Hussey. That's on the female side, but there's a whole lot more on the male side. And so there's a grift to it. Yes, absolutely. But there's more to it than just that. So it's not just about, getting laid. It's not just about commiserating. It's how do you control society? How do you control it through a market? Well, you control it through your dick. Right? You're never going to reproduce unless you do unless you do it the way the modern people are doing it. And this is how you do it. And this is what you have to pay for it. And this is how you get access. That's the monopoly. It's a monopoly on the global sexual marketplace, because prior to that, people had to meet in the local sexual marketplace. I met my wife, and I hate to use my own life or my own romantic experience as even the girls I was nailing back in the day, back in the 90s or late 80s, early 90s, you had to go to a club to meet them. You had to meet them live in person. I didn't meet them on any board. I didn't go to answer a personal ad in a newspaper. I was there at the club. I played a gig and I met the girls afterwards. And usually it was on, good to go, it was on. A few of them I might have met through like friends in college, but it was even those, I had to see them face to face. I had to talk to them. I had to learn how to interact live in real time. You don't have to do that now. And because you don't have to do that, remember in book 1, I talk about this in buffers, how I said I was always worried about guys over dependency on buffers, because buffers are buffers against rejection. So pornography is a buffer, and pornography is free, more or less. OnlyFans, cam girls is a buffer against rejection. Just keep paying and she won't reject you. How does that solve your reproductive? It doesn't. Virtually it does, but not actually it doesn't, because you're not reproducing. You don't have a girl. You have a girlfriend. That's why waifus are, it's funny to me is women will marry inanimate objects. They'll marry a bridge. I saw a woman married a tree. She celebrated her first year anniversary. Or she'll marry a ghost of a pirate. Oh, that was a good one. I married a ghost of a pirate. Oh, but I cheated on him. With a real person? Yeah. Okay. Well, I was in a poly relationship, so it didn't matter. It's so fascinating to see like how the differences between how men solve that and women solve that in a virtual sense. So you've got like women who like want to marry a bridge, or women marry a chandelier, or their dog, or themselves. Has to be a ceremony, because I'm so self-fulfilled that I'm going to marry myself. You may now kiss the bride. So the interest, like women have that as far as long-term commitment and connection is concerned. You want to know why I've said this from day one, why women have an innate solipsism in their psychology. Their psyche is innately solipsistic. All you got to do is look at how they marry themselves, marry a bridge, marry a dog, marry a chandelier, marry a boat, whatever it is, because marry themselves. You don't see guys marrying themselves. Somebody guys find me a story about a guy who married himself. I challenge you. There's your homework for today. Find me a story of a guy who married himself. You'll see guys who will like say, I have a waifu, or maybe they have a sex doll that they have sort of anthropomorphized into sort of somebody that they believe is living, but they don't marry them. Generally, guys don't marry themselves. They don't, unless even the things that they get attached to, whether it's a waifu or it's a sex doll or whatever it is, it still looks like a woman. It's still a chick, right? It's still somebody like there's an effigy, there's a marker, there's some sort of image, an ideal that they have in their head, whether it's, virtual or not, it's still a woman. It's outside themselves, let's say. For women, it's inside themselves. Women will marry themselves. That's how I know women are solipsistic, innately solipsistic. Remember that. Keep that in the back. Well, but see, here's the thing, is even that innate solipsism is something you can market to. It's something you can use as a means of control. Same thing with guys. Guys are going to simp, right? So the savvy money knows that that this sexual market, like the sexual marketplace, is destabilized. They're happy to do it. They're happy to keep it destabilized because they make more money by doing that. And as long as it's destabilized, they can control population. So we can't have betas, uprisings. We can't have betas. Although I don't know how effective that is, because I think that a lot of the guys that I'm seeing right now and all of these civil unrest are the reason why the freaking Washoe Valley is stage 2, smoke alert right now, is because these sons of bitches are setting these fires. Well, those guys, they're not like the best of the best, right? They're not like guys who are, have something else going for themselves. So when I see guys that are out there wilding in the streets or whatever, and it's these young, well-adjusted, well-to-do, somewhat affluent, white kids who are out there dyeing their hair and screaming and rioting and shooting each other. And in some cases, it's, there's a limit to it, let's just say. But the savvy money is in a destabilizing sexual marketplace, because as long as it's destabilized, you'll do things, you'll freak out, you'll do whatever you have to do. It's the same thing like with like say militant Islam or militant Muslims, like guys are like, was it the Arab Spring? The Arab Spring happened because there were so many young men who were unemployed and had no chance to get laid, because in that culture you had to have X amount of money so that you could afford to have a wife. Well, they had no prospects, so why not? Why not lose your mind and go out and raise hell? Was it The Economist did and again, this is nothing against the religion. I'm just saying, like, from a social situation, it's easy to destabilize economies through young men, 18 to 29 years old, who are, and particularly in the United States, aren't getting laid. That's a powerful force. It's like the church has known that forever. Do what we tell you and we'll get you a wife. Boko Haram. Well, what Boko Haram does is you will pull a trigger for Boko Haram. They'll give you a child. They'll give you a little girl. There's your wife. You couldn't get it any other way, but you'll kill for us. So here you go. That's a motivator. That's a power. We'll solve your reproductive problem for you. Now that's on the local level, a very kind of savage local level, but like think of it in a larger, more broad monopoly of it. So what the market does, what that market control does, in essence, as soon as it's got it, it's established sort of a control over it, it replaces the natural market. It eliminates the natural way of guys getting together with other women. So it's no longer about meeting in public. It's no longer about meeting at a show or a gig. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It still does, but less so now than ever before. Most people meet online. Most people meet via Tinder. Most people encounter new sexual partners and potential long-term partners via, certainly through Instagram. I talked about that with Myron and John for a long time. In fact, they corrected me on that too, because I'm still in the field. I still go to promos and I still see people interact, but I'm not seeing it's not like I go, oh, let's see if I can find this girl's Instagram. They're having a conversation or they're having an interaction that I'm not privy to, because I don't know what their Instagram, address is. I don't know what they're doing, because it's kind of walled off. So like the live and in-person sexual marketplace, the local sexual marketplace is being overtaken by a virtual sexual marketplace right now. And when you do that, you open it up to market control. So now you have this natural selection that is being replaced by by market influences. But what's not being replaced, and here's where I will part ways with sort of like the misery economy, which I think is valid. But the thing is the misery economy, or the economy of simping for that matter, doesn't exist unless men have a certain nature. It doesn't exist unless women have a certain nature when it comes to sex and reproduction and forming families and tribalism. Even tribalism depends on that. Another place I sort of disagree with, like guys like Godsod or Jordan Peterson. They want to downplay tribalism and tribal identities and stuff. I was like, that's what we are. That's what human beings are. We're innately tribalistic. Even me saying that, like there's guys going, yeah. Thank you. Welcome to my tribe because you agree with me. So, the first tribe we know is our families. We have an event like guys investment in their own paternity is, I think, this is me talking, I'm spitballing here. I don't have any stats to back this up, but this is my theory, is that men's interest in mate guarding, men's interest in paternity, men's evolved interest in knowing that the baby is theirs, and being parentally invested in a baby that is theirs, that is the sort of the germ, right? It's the larval stage of tribalism. Because you have to be interested in the survival and sending your progeny into the next generation. Well, it's easier to do that when you've got a full family, you've got brothers and sisters and extended family and all that other stuff. And that's how you build tribes, and that's how you build, people, like ethnicities, and that's how you build nations. And that's everything right now is tribalistic. Well, what happens is when you put into a global online sort of amalgam of everything, those tribal things, you're still going to be tribalistic, but you're going to be sort of in the Wild West for a long time. We think we've never been more polarized, certainly politically and ideologically, but sexually too, like in intersexual, conflict, for lack of adversarialness, I guess. We've never been more atomized. But at the same time, we're still looking for tribes. That's the first thing I'll ask guys. When guys hit me up, they go, Rollo, how do I increase my SMV? I'm a loser. I've never had a girlfriend. I'm still a virgin at 28. Help me. How? What do I do? Help. My first question is, do you have a tribe? Are you just sitting at home alone? Are you just like isolated and doing nothing and you have no tribes? Or maybe your tribe is like whoever you're playing Call of Duty with on Xbox. That's your tribe. That's not a tribe. You need like real actual brothers, right? You need real actual people to be your tribe. And it could be like at the gym. It could be at work. It could be at church. It can be wherever. We've never been more isolated. We want to sell the internet as this big extroversion. It's not. It's really an introversion. And we're seeing the effects of that right now. So what happens is, so without those evolved needs and without those evolved proclivities, that kind of economy, the simp economy, doesn't work. So until such time as guys can sort of say, well, I'm going to give up or I'm going to become better. There's two things you can do. When you hate yourself, when you hate yourself or you hate your life, you have really, if you're not going to kill yourself, you have two choices. And the first choice is you can either medicate yourself, you can numb yourself, you can sedate yourself with porn, with drugs, with alcohol, with escapism, or you can rebuild yourself. You can make yourself into something better. And I've always been the guy that says, make yourself something better. But there's a lot of money in sedation. There's a lot of money in porn. There's a lot of money in booze. I know personally. There's a lot of money in men's insecurities with respect to how do I deal with a woman? How do I get a better job? How do I, what is it? John was saying, it's guys want three things, right? They want to get laid, get jacked, and get rich. And those are really, you want to know where the economy comes from. It's really those things right there. So what happens is then that blue pill, like I'm going to come full circle here because in the beginning of this show, I was asked, is it nature versus nurture? I would say this is that blue pill conditioning is social and market control. I can say that now with a little bit of more confidence. Prior to maybe 2010, I probably would have said something different. It's this social engineering. Like a lot of people will say, well, feminism is the Rockefellers and it's Marxists and it's the evil cabal of, pedophile Satanists. None of that works unless there's a human nature. None of that works unless it's playing on base human needs, evolved mental firmware. And so you can make a case and say, well, blue pill is an economic scam, or it's an economics. Because the social engineering is really, so it's more for population control in a global world, globalized world. Yeah. Okay. I agree. Yeah, maybe. I think it's still kind of, they're trying to figure it out. Maybe it was something that had a different intent originally, but now this is the new intent. So it could be. So there, I'll leave you guys at that. Let's see. I've got a few more in here. Don't give me any more because we're getting towards the 3-hour mark, and you know how I hate to go 3 hours. Max Gerasimov says, I'm 100% agree with you and red pill, but I still can't unfollow cute thoughts on Instagram. Does it make me a simp? No, it makes you a dude is what it makes you. You're a simp if you're going to jump in and defend them. Do you guys remember the thought audit? Do you remember when all the girls got attacked for tax evasion? I think it was 2018? And women were losing their minds. No, I never had to pay taxes before. Or was it and of course, what did everybody say? Like Simps jumped in and they thought that, oh, it's these guys, these beta males they're just these jilted, who hurt you, guys that are attacking these girls because these girls are taking their money and running off to Aruba and saying, typing like messages like, thanks, suckers, while they're on the beach in Aruba. And then of course what happened is Simps jumped in and then they're like, oh, hey man, leave her alone. She should don't go and report her to the IRS. She should be able to, she's a queen. She should be able to tell us what to do. If you're a simp, you know what Simps love? Simps love self-flagellation. They love to beat themselves up. That's another thing. They'll say they don't. They'll say that, oh, this is the right way. I want to be on the right side of history. No, you don't. You want to get laid. You want to use it as a means to get laid, and you're actually being manipulated by other market interests as a result of that. But you think that you're you're doing the right thing. You're on the right side of history. No, well, you're being used by a side of history, that's for sure. So does that make you a simp? Well, no, it makes you a dude. I mean, guys like porn, guys like hot chicks. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the base. That's your evolved need. Your that's your instinctual need is to get laid. When guys see women in like bikinis and half naked, it triggers a part of our brain that is associated with tool use. Go look that up. Go Google that. It's for real. Is that real, Uncle Rollo? Yes, it is. It's real. Men, they've done fMRI. I think it's fMRI studies where the women or men will see half naked women and it triggers that part of tool use. Why? Well, because there's a problem and we need tools to solve that problem. Let's look at women as parts before we see them as a whole. Oh, that's horrible objectification. Well, guess what? That's the way we've evolved since the time we were living in tribes on sub-Saharan African savannas. Johnny B says, do you think simp behavior is more prevalent nowadays because so many guys grow up without a father to teach them about respect and pride? Self-respect, yes. Yeah. I mean, it's no secret. I've talked about the Lost Boys generation forever, since 2016, 2017. There is a generation, this generation, and certainly maybe the part of the millennial generation that have never had that kind of conventional positive masculine guidance of a father because we've systematically removed men from the equation, from the social equation. Another way to make money. Let's find something that's going to, we've created all these insecurities because we've basically removed men from the equation. We won't even string the letters MAN together in the English language anymore. So how can we make some money off of that? Oh, men are evil. Yeah. And then guys will go, yeah, I hate being a man. I wish it wasn't. Well, I'll try to be better. You know, Father's Day rolls around, sermons. You need to be better, guys. I guess I do. There's money in that. So yeah, I would definitely agree. I would say so. Here's another thing about respect is if you are a guy and you're out there that you want to know, I didn't get to this. If you're a guy, and I've seen teenage boys do this, they'll make these videos, I think they're TikTok videos or whatever. And it's these guys, it's a random group of guys, and they'll go, I respect women. I respect women. I respect women. I respect women. I am a guy who respects women. I respect women. And it's always this respect, right? Whenever you hear guys who just unsolicitedly, ladies, you probably know this, when you hear a woman or you hear a guy say, I respect women, that is like trying to pay you for pussy with monopoly money. That's what that is. It's like, here, I have some worthless pieces of paper that kind of looks like money. Here's some respect dollars for you, ladies. Can I get some pussy? No. It is the most disingenuous, contrived thing that I've ever seen. But guys think it's a good idea. Like, all I got to do is say I respect women. Respect means nothing to women. Men and women have different ideals or different concepts. Just as men and women have different concepts of love, men and women have different concepts of respect. For men, as you might guess, it's based on performance. You have to earn respect. You have to merit respect. You have to be a man worthy of respect. You have to have respectability. There are things that you have to do as a man because nobody's just going to respect you for nothing. You have to earn it. You have to be it. But if you have a vagina, you're a human being with a vagina, you have to respect women. Just respect her. She needs respect. Like it's cheap. It's like women don't care about respect. They don't give a rat's ass about respect. They only give a rat's ass about respect when they get disrespect, when they have to actually measure up to something. So if like Rich goes and gives out that, I hope you do this, gives out that 6 bullet point checklist, whatever, of like what women can do to make themselves more acceptable for men. How dare you? Don't you respect women? Respect what? That they shouldn't be, that they don't do anything. So there's no real, not yet anyways, but there's no real universal mutually earned respect between the sexes. It's one of those things where there's different concepts. It's a gendered concept. Like love is a gendered concept. Women are opportunistic, men are idealistic when it comes to love. When it comes to respect, women just are and men must become. Right? We have to become respectable. What is this? Thank you very much, Mr. Spin Doctor. Bro fist. So there you go. Let's see. Amar Kermani says, my girlfriend used to told me that she was used to tell me that she was always got wet when I treated her lower than me. She ran away. She ran away month after I picked up feelings for her. I still simped. Yeah, well, it's because you like guys will say, "Oh, I caught feelings for her. I got one-itis." Isn't it funny that the moment that you become like this emotional guy because you start expressing your emotions, or they say, "Oh, you got to be vulnerable." Oh, how do I do that? Oh, tell her what your fears are. Tell her, wear your emotions on your sleeve. Become vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable. The moment you are, the moment women lose respect for you, because the guys who are vulnerable, those are the guys that women have to make rules for. The guys who are not, the guys who are invulnerable, those are the guys they break rules for, because they want to get there. They want to, because the guys who are not vulnerable are the beasts, right? It's Beauty and the Beast. She falls in love with the invulnerable beast who can just tear the throat out of any rival, any taker, any contender. Come here, I'll kill you, right? And you go and you turn that guy into Mr. Vulnerable, Mr. Prince. Belle falls in love with the beast, not in love with the prince. Matthew Scott says, your insight and vast well of knowledge on the topics is vital to men in the current age. Yeah, wait till you get book 4. Would love to hear more about the sisterhood, fempowerment, feminazi. Don't call it feminazis, please. That's just like, okay. I realize Rush had his day. Female mafia, my phrase. It's sort of like, it's not Big Brother anymore. It's Big Sister. Matt, just all I can tell you is check out some of my other videos. I've talked about the sisterhood in prior videos. If you really want to talk about that, I'm glad you think I'm a well of knowledge. I have a very deep well of knowledge on therationalmale.com. So there's a lot of topics that are about that, exactly what you're talking about there. What do you think about Project Melody? I have no idea who Project Melody is, what Project Melody is. Is it a channel? Is it a chick? Is it what? Is it Project? Is that like a TV show? Is that like, I don't know what that, I don't know what that is. So I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with Project Melody. Is it a band? Sounds like a band. It sounds like an indie chick rock band. Is it good? Alpha Male again says, is it good game to say to a woman in the workplace, I want to invite you for dinner to my place and feed you some chicken? No. In fact, that's probably the best way to get a sexual. I don't know. Are you hot? How hot are you? Hot guys can get away with anything. No, even hot guys, I would say don't do that, because those guys, even if it doesn't work out, she'll go, oh, I can't work here anymore. It's a hostile work environment because this guy asked me to eat chicken at his place, and I accepted. I would do it. I know it's not good game. It's not good game at all. It's not even game. You're just suggesting, hey, let's go have some food. It's like, I can do that. I can go down to my neighbor over here and ask her if she wants to do that. It's not a game. Victor, did I talk to you? I talked about friendships. NEO, I got to you. Who else did I miss? Oh, Atham, thank you for that sticker. I always like the stickers. Thank you. I don't know why. They're kind of cutesy and doofy and like little girlish sometimes, but this one was cool. I wish I could have put it up there. They won't let me put up stickers for whatever reason in StreamYard. It'd be nice when they do that. Guys, if you're watching. Oh, okay. I didn't get to Thought Terminator. He said how to deal with simps and white knights who use shaming tactics towards an alpha. Okay, so here's what will happen. Most simps when, and this is, I've said this before in I think some of the alpha shows that I've done. Beta males of primates, human beings being one, form coalitions to take down alpha males. That's why alpha males bully them. That's why alpha male chimps, alpha male gorillas will beat up on the beta males, because they don't want an army raised against them. So individually, he beats the crap out of them. And as such, it makes that particular primate, it keeps him down, and it proves to the females who are within, viewing distance of it to say he's the alpha and he's the beta. So it has a lot of different purposes for that. So what bullying really has sort of a feral evolutionary purpose in that it keeps those guys, keep a brother down, right? Keep the betas down. And in doing so, it makes you a better man, a bigger man. We say, oh, that's horrible. He has insecurities. No, he's just following his biological evolutionary imperatives. That's what bullies do. That's what alpha males do. They bully the beta males. Might doesn't make right. Well, not always, but you want to know why Peter Parker and Steve Rogers got all jacked and found superpowers, or at least fantasized about having those superpowers? That's why. So how do you deal with simps and white knights who use that shaming tactic? I've got a thought terminator. We're getting towards the end here, but I have a couple. It's a series of posts. It's only 2. It's called The Utility of Beta Men. And I talk about exactly what you're asking me right there. So I did get to you. I got to NEO. I got to alpha mailed. I got to Tom. Yes, I did. I got to alpha mailed again. I got to who else? Keep them golden nuggets of Professor Rollo coming. Sam Whiskey. Yes, I got to you. I will never go to a baby shower. All right, this is good. I'm done. All right, guys, thank you for watching. I hope this has been informative. This is actually highly educational for the last 3 hours. I'm sorry to have kept you so long. The registration for this, I have to make mention. I probably should have said this in the beginning. My bad. We're doing Rule Zero online on October 2nd and the 3rd. It is a Zoom conference that we're doing with all of the speakers you see here. You get 10 guys over the course of 2 days. We opened registration up primarily for the guys like who haven't sold tickets yet. So this is for like Myron, Aaron Clary, Paul Benjamin, John Fitch, and Sterling Cooper. I have decided that I am not going to take any tickets. If you guys want to buy through me, that's fine. You just have to be a Patreon member. But I'm not going to take any tickets until Wednesday because I want to give these guys a chance to sell tickets. So I've already sold tickets from the previous, like if you saw Rule Zero yesterday, you understand why we had to do what we had to do. Yes, there will still be another live event. We're planning on doing one in 2021 of the spring in Vegas again, probably with this same lineup if I can work it out. Again, we had to postpone it we were going to postpone it, but then we realized, we really want to give you guys something. So we opened up registration because we had other people asking if they could get tickets. And yes, we are. We're going to make it limited. It's just through yesterday through 16th. And go get a ticket from Myron or Aaron or Paul or John or Sterling. Go through those guys first because now I know that they've sold a few, but I would rather the new guys get first dibs on any new registrations before I do because guys have already bought from me. So that's what I'm going to say for right now. If you insist on buying a registration through me, it's $597 for now. We were only charging $500 for the Vegas show. We were trying to keep it cheap. It was only going to be limited to 100 guys. We just upped it by $97 because we got new speakers, and it's over the course of 2 days rather than 1 day. So there you have it. That's why we're doing what we're doing. So if you are interested in that, it's going to be it'll be great. We talked about it yesterday. If you want more details, go look on Rich Cooper's Entrepreneurs and Cars channel and look for the Rule Zero episode that he hosted yesterday, and you'll get all the details for that. And that is that. So there you go. All right. Did I not get to your super chat? What super chat, dude? I do not have a super chat from you. Throw it at me again, man. I have not seen your super chat, Christian. What did you put here, Rollo? What do you think about Project Melody? I don't know what Project Melody is, dude. Christian Matico. I'm looking in my shit. Let me see. I'm looking in what I have been given, and I'm not seeing any super chat from you, dude. I'm sorry. I did not see a super chat. I don't know if it's a technical issue, but Sam has not recorded anything from you, Christian Matico. I'm not being a jerk. I'm just saying I haven't seen it. So what did he say? Christian Matico, send me the text of it. Okay. Yeah. Put it, you know what? Actually, I can't do it right now, but Christian, just email it to me, man. And I'll hit you up. Just email it to me. What super chat? I didn't see the super chat for it. All right, guys. Thank you very much. This has been a good show. Christian, just email it to me, man. I will give you a personal response on email. Okay, there you go. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I will see you on Wednesday, same time. If you are a Patreon subscriber and you are watching this, I'm going to do a Q&A either tomorrow or Tuesday. I know I owe you one big. I had some personal things I've had to take care of with my mom, and I know that sounds like a cop-out, but I really have. My mom is in an assisted living facility. Last Monday, she went into the hospital. They were worried about sepsis. She had pneumonia, and the weather here and the smoke is not helping. She's been on lockdown for COVID. I have not seen her face to face since March. And so it was an opportunity for me to go out to the hospital. I could actually see her, but she was not in a good way. So that's why if you're wondering what happened to the Patreon thing, that's what happened. So I will make up for it either tomorrow or Tuesday, depending on what my schedule is with that. I take care of my mom. I take care of my mother-in-law. So I'm a responsible son. All right, guys, that's good. I will be on Wednesday, same time, 4 p.m. Eastern, and I'll see you then. Bye, guys.